starts now. Good luck, DarkZero and FaZe Clan.
Our mindset coming from Rally, nothing really changed too much coming into Japan. We knew we were a better team than what we performed in Rally. So basically we just went home, did exactly what we normally do, and we dominated the NA second half of the season to get to Japan. And then just during boot camp, we just really focused on like what can we do to try to have a better LAN event and try to put everything that we're doing for our online success and then try to replicate that for Japan. Our goal is always going to be to win, and that's the only thing that we do want. That's the only thing I've ever really wanted was just to win an event, but we are going to focus one game at a time, and hopefully that's the way that it's going to be going forward and to get us to the finals. Everyone is extremely friendly here in Japan. That's the biggest thing I noticed, and everything is clean. Everything is honestly been amazing. I can see myself coming back for sure.
We don't have much time to prepare. Like you might have called me like last time, so I have like 3 days to prepare. But the play style is always aggressive. The Brazilian players always like to play aggressive. I like to play aggressive, so I'm gonna play super aggressive, and let's see how it works. I think, in my opinion, Giants is the hardest team to beat because they are a pretty strong team. They play really good, and if we win against DarkZero, we're gonna play against them, and we prepare, so let's see. Yeah, the goal is always like to win. We don't like losing, so the goal is to win.
Arigatou gozaimashita, Nihon. We are back at the analyst desk, and we have our first quarterfinals ready. You can see the fighting spirit is definitely within us, and some have it stapled literally on their faces currently. But let's take a look at what we have to offer in this matchup. FaZe Clan versus DarkZero.
Yeah. I mean, FaZe brought in a new player. It's not like like they didn't just bring in some random player, right? It's not NXT. He's a good player. He's played competitive in other games as well, and they know him from before. So hopefully that transition is going to be pretty smooth. At least DarkZero had a little bit longer since they swapped the player, and they did it because they wanted to at that point, not because they had to.
Yeah, that's a great point there. With DarkZero, I think it's been a long time coming for them to break through on a LAN event because, I mean, even Mint was saying in that little video beforehand, they've been to quite a lot of LAN events, Raleigh, previous Pro League finals, and every time they seem to fall short. Very desperate to make it into that top four, even that championship, which I think is definitely attainable for them. They can taste it, but they just can't replicate the performance they've had online when they finally come to an event and play on LAN.
They are very lucky though, because they have a backing that allows them to, you aren't forced to win. No one's going to be beating you if you don't get the victory at this LAN or the next one. Yep. They're in it for the long run. They want to be a good team down the road and be able to take victories consistently later on. Whatever they can manage to do now is just the start of what they're planning to do later.
Yeah, it's just gathering that experience as a team to make sure that you build up the powerhouse that G2 and Empire, for example, have been.
Yeah, I really feel like if there's any point when DarkZero and North America is going to make a comeback, this is a perfect opportunity for them. FaZe is a team that they have lost to before. They were defeated, knocked out of the Raleigh group stage by FaZe Clan 2-0. Didn't even get a map, which is a real shame for DarkZero because they were so hyped up, and it was in the US itself, the event. And this is a perfect opportunity because not only do they have that revenge story, but FaZe are weakened. We can't disregard that. FaZe are playing with a substitute. It wasn't by choice. As you said, it's a perfect opportunity for NA to get their heads back into the game.
On top of that, there is something relieving in the fact that you lost 2-0, because it cannot be worse than that. Like, at least you got something to build on now. And FaZe, bit weakened. DC has changed a little, so...
One thing I will say is I feel like both of the Latin American teams coming into this tournament, playing with these substitute players, yeah, it's a bit of a downer, but how much pressure does that take off of you? Because
everything.
You have no expectation anymore. FaZe Clan's one of the most experienced teams at this event. They were runners-up a year ago at our Pro League finals, and yet all that pressure is now gone because they're not playing with their full roster.
DC, though, is a very structured team, so I don't think they're going to fall for any shenanigans that we've seen before. We've seen Fnatic pull a Dismal, I think we can call it that, where you just play the most random stuff and as aggressive as you possibly can, and then you just catch someone completely off guard. But it just doesn't work. If you're a really structured team, you're not going to allow for these mistakes to happen.
Yeah, EG did not really work well against. No, that's a very good way of putting it in that matchup last year. But as you said, James, I mean, FaZe Clan, they've been at the past 3 Pro League finals, especially if you include this one. You know, they made it to the grand final in Rio de Janeiro. Unfortunately, they got knocked out by G2 there with the home turf, home crowd advantage. They made it to Milan, and they're in the semifinals, so they got knocked out as well. And it seems like at the end of every game, FaZe Clan get knocked out, and then you can see the frustration on their faces. Such an emotional team to be playing here. Can this big crowd also be used to feed off of it as they did in Rio?
I hope so, because as you said, when they had the Brazilian crowd, 10,000 Brazilian fans in Rio, that certainly helped fuel them, even though it didn't make the full distance. For FaZe, though, we have so much pedigree behind them, but their recent form, last 3 months, actually hasn't been looking that great. They had 2 losses in the Pro League, and they also had an early exit from DreamHack Valencia as well. DreamHack Montreal, rather. So hopefully FaZe can find their footing here because it's been a long time coming.
All right, we'll talk about FaZe's opponents for this moment. Let's bring up DarkZero's lineup on the board, and we can show you all 5 players that will be in here. Of course, their coach, Bacon, but it's Hyper, BC, Mitt, Hot and Cold, and Nyx. This is #1 team coming out of North America, and they've pretty much dominated everybody in the region. This is a team that online, just like Giants in EU, they've proven themselves to be the team that will always be victorious, that are always structured. It's just that experience built up on LAN, Alex.
They have a little bit of a different way of trying to build a team where as I mentioned, it's all long-term. They have full backing on the team to do any kind of choice they want in terms of players, how they want to train. If they say that we're going to be a better team down the road doing this, then they have backing from their org, which is a beautiful thing and quite rare. The swap with Hyper for Jarvis, or the other way around, Jarvis for Hyper, has seemingly paid off pretty well. I mean, Hyper's on 5 clutches so far.
Yeah, they're a team known for that really rigid practice routine. If you watch any of the DarkZero content, you'll know they call it the bullpen.
Exactly.
Where all 6 of them sit around together and play their matches, play their scrims, and the coaches and the analysts, they watch on this beautiful screen that has all the player perspectives all together. And that is a huge amount of resources and backing behind them, as you said. It's clearly translated to success within North America, but they need to start branching out. They need to take that next step.
And that's the investment. So far, it's been paying off. We'll see what happens in this first quarterfinals. But now, it's DarkZero's opponents, FaZe Clan. Let's talk about the 5 players here, and of course, the replacement that FaZe Clan have kind of been forced into, as Astro, Yuna, Mav, Cameraman will be the initial starting roster with 9XT coming in. This is why you don't see any numbers on them. Everybody has performed very well. FaZe Clan have been effective this season, but as with a lot of teams in Latin America, it's kind of like amazing against certain teams and then wishy-washy against ones that they really shouldn't have too much problem playing against.
I think that the best we've seen from FaZe in recent times was their performance at Raleigh, because it was just a few rounds off of defeating the eventual champions of the major, Empire, in the quarters. They got so very close, and yet it just wasn't close enough.
Yeah. That's the dangerous thing with first round knockouts or losing early in a tournament, is that you might have lost to the one that ended up winning everything.
Exactly.
So it would have been no different if you were in the finals, right? But FaZe, once they get momentum and they start getting this aggressive push, I mean, Yuna playing aggro on Monty is absolutely terrifying. We saw that in one of the highlights, right? If they can keep that momentum up, then they're still a dangerous team, even with a player swap or a couple, because it's not going to limit their communication that much. You just can't run the same strats 3 days to prepare is not enough to go through everything you've ever played and planned, right?
And I think one of the most brutal things about this change is the player we're missing. We haven't actually talked about him yet, Ion. He is an insane anchor player. And honestly, if you asked me, you've got your roster, you need to trade out one player for anyone in the world that you can pick up that you can actually make it to the event, I would not pick my anchor. I would not pick my support. I would trade out a fragger, honestly, because it's much easier to give direction to someone subbing into that kind of role. Whereas Ion, he's that smoke player, and he's so integral to everything that FaZe does.
But that is probably what's going to potentially help them here, is that they're forced to play different and play more aggressive, because they can't do this anchoring thing. So either they come hot out of the gate, or I think they just crumble.
I reckon if they find their footing, they can certainly do well, because FaZe usually a predictable team. That's just not going to be the case.
And I really want to explain this for everybody watching at home. 9XT is not just some nobody that was picked up in Latin America. Mav and 9XT played together over 5 years ago in different games. They went through all the way to Rainbow Six. 9XT's competed at the highest level in 3 or 4 different games, at least including Rainbow Six, even before LATAM was part of Rainbow Six Pro League and in its early days infancy as well. So this is not some inexperienced player. However, coming in, you have to shift your play style, and we might see Mav, for example, take out the mantle that Ion was doing as you guys were explaining it, and have 9XT being the spearhead of their assault. That's really all up in the air, and it's something for us to break down really as things go. But we're going to compare 2 players on the teams that actually have played the entirety of the online season. So let's bring up the player comparison on the camera, and here we are. It's Hyper and Astro, and my God, have these 2 been playing well.
Yeah, so Hyper, I mentioned he has 5 clutches. We got a little bit more detailed stats on our end, but Hyper's been playing insane.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. And Astro is one of the players that was the easiest to compare with because of how well Hyper has done.
I think Hyper, he's brought onto the roster just recently. He is that most recent addition, as you said, subbing out Jarvis. And Hyper came from a Pro League experience, but it wasn't a top-level team. And yet still, playing for his previous teams, he was a highlight player all the way, so straight to the top, and now he's the top of North America, and I think that's very well deserved. Those 5 clutches were all insane. We saw one of them in the intro video to this event with Parker's Lovely Casting. That was such an amazing clutch from Hyper, and I expect if he finds his footing on land, if he doesn't get squished out of his shell, I honestly think we can see him step up, and he could be one of the saving graces for DarkZero.
And it seems like DC has gotten a little bit more control over Hyper. He doesn't just sprint around everywhere. He fits into the team, which is a very important thing, especially if you're a kind of aggressive player. Like, knowing your spot and not taking it too far is exactly what it needs to win a round, right? Yeah,
that's something players like Joystick, for example, have been showing us for so long and being very effective at it. Aces, for example, as well on Giants, that we'll touch on later. But that was Hyper. Now we'll talk about Astro for just a moment, as he's also been playing fantastically. A lot of opening kills for him for the team. Seems like he is also that spearhead that FaZe Clan are using. Now with 9XT in the play, things might shift.
I think Astro's always going to be the X factor for FaZe Clan. And I think another thing that really helps this team is that they have been together such a long time. Astro, alongside Cameraman, were actually at the very first Six Invitational. They played for a team called Santa's Dexterity, which eventually became this team. So these guys have so much experience, so much LAN experience, especially because the Brazilian national tournament, the BR6, that's played almost entirely on LAN itself. Their finals was a huge, impressive event in a fantastic venue as well. So these guys aren't going to get scared by a couple thousand fans watching. They're not going to get scared by that pressure. I honestly think the pressure is all off for FaZe, and that's the most dangerous beast to come up against.
I think we haven't really seen Astro play like he used to play, the stuff that he truly got known for, this overly aggressive, killing everybody on the entire map in seconds. But maybe pressure, changing, having to be more aggressive now, maybe that can light a bit of a fire under them.
Yeah, well, we're kind of still trying to imagine how things will work on FaZe's end, because really replacing a player like Ion, as you guys mentioned, this is your hard anchor. When he's no longer here, there's a reason why they're called a hard anchor. They anchor on the site, and they allow everybody to pivot and move around them.
For people that might not know, hard anchor is not just sitting on site, covering site. It's also giving information, getting intel, being on camps, communicating with your roamers. What's the safe route back? Where do we need you to push? Missing this is a massive issue for defense.
One thing I will say for FaZe, though, is that Iron's actually the newest player on that roster. He joined in March this year, so the team is very experienced without him.
Yeah,
With their previous players. So perhaps having that experience in the past, it's not like Iron was the longest running member of the team. It's not like he was the heart and soul. He just, in terms of gameplay, had a very big impact. So I certainly think that if the rest of FaZe can keep their footing, can still feel confident into this match, find a way to slot 9XT in there, be super unpredictable, I reckon they can take the fight to them.
And that's the thing, there's always something up in the air, especially at finals like this. It can really throw DarkZero or FaZe Clan off, so who knows?
Yeah.
Definitely we'll have to explore in just a bit later on with Emzo for sure. But let's talk about our map bans. As usual, this is a best of 3 series on LAN, just like we had with the relegations online a few days ago, or pretty much a week ago. But now we got to actually play one at the big stage in front of a huge audience here. So there's pressure, as you talked about.
Yes, and going into bans, there's 2 very predictable things. Coastline is probably not going to be played.
Because there's a Latin American team playing.
Well, not just that, but DC has banned Coastline 24 times.
Holy crap.
And they've lost it 3.
Yeah, it's the most banned map for both of these teams.
Yes.
My question is, which one's going to ban it? So let's say you are sitting there, maybe you get the first ban. Do you risk letting it through because you think the other team's going to ban it? Or do you have to use your ban on it?
Well, I would assume at this point, there's no way you don't ban maps that long and don't practice them. Every single time we talk about this, people bring a map that they are on paper bad at, and then they end up just destroying on that map.
Yeah. Well, FaZe is the one with the first ban, and no way, Coast isn't any of the first 2 bans. Surely it gets picked by DarkZero here. Okay, so no one wants to play it. It's going to be one of the end bans. No, it's actually the Decider
You're
map.
wrong!
There we go.
It's
That
the
never
Decider map.
happens.
I love the fact that we're saying this is the most banned map for both these teams. We'll never play it.
Who knows? Maybe
They
there's
always-
something shown on it.
But every team always end up banning a map for a whole season or for more than a season, and then eventually bringing it to a LAN.
FaZe Clan, reinforce your point, last year did not play Coastline for almost an entire year of all tournaments, from minors to majors to Pro League, and even in BR6, online and offline. And here they are. Finally, we get to see Coastline. So again, as you saw, ban, pick, ban, and then our decider, Coast.
This right here is why LAN events are so exciting. These teams have played so many online matches and LAN matches as well over the past 12 months. DarkZero comes out of the gate and they're playing 2 of their most banned maps. Villa is their second most banned map after Coastline, and that was their first pick straight out of the gate. So DarkZero have done their homework.
I will say Villa looks like it's going to be a pick for a LAN, right? Because you got 18 bans, you haven't even played it at all. Like, that looks like something you're going to bring for LAN.
It seems like we had some hiccups with our map ban, so maybe that was incorrect. Maybe somebody was watching at home, they're like, you know what, Coastline, that doesn't seem to be right. There's a Latin American team playing on here.
Well, it was exciting nonetheless.
Yes, we got our excitement. There was a shot of fake adrenaline, and now we actually get to do the real map ban.
Well, we do have FaZe Clan, so they're the ones that Finker, so I wouldn't put it past Una to whip out the Finker, give us a bit of a boost.
He was dressed as Finka, basically, in Milan.
I just had a weird haircut.
You paid for it.
That's true. That is true.
That was your problem at that point, Alex. But we are waiting for our graphic here to pop up in just a second. It was... It seems like it was okay. Okay. All right.
I'd be surprised if we don't get to see Coast.
I would love to see it. That's the best thing. Like I was saying, best thing about LAN events is that you actually can't predict them. You could do stats till the cows come home.
So most teams lose their best maps on LAN and win the maps that they've never played, right?
It's a mind game.
Yep.
If I see that your best map is Villa, you know what I'm going to be practicing all the way up into the LAN event?
Exactly, yeah.
That's the map I'm going to be practicing for. And that's why I think being unpredictable is so dangerous. FaZe Clan are at their heart and have for a long time been actually a really predictable team, which is why this spice up of bringing in 9XT could actually certainly work in their favor.
This only seems to be 2 really good ways of doing it, right? Either you do the Empire route of playing certain maps, playing them the same way all the time, and you just get really, really good at it. Or you bring something new every time.
Yeah, here's the update, by the way. It's the same maps, Bank, Consulate, Coastline. There's 3 maps that have the golden name basically on them. Those will be the ones that we'll start off with. And of course, Bank will be our first one. Again, ban, pick, ban, and then Decider. And our 7 map pool as you saw them. So yes, it was there. Gentlemen, any closing thoughts for our first matchup? DarkZero FaZe Clan.
It's a rematch. I certainly think DarkZero are out for blood. That said, FaZe Clan, you can't contain them, and they're going to whip out some crazy stuff.
I'm just excited to see who pulls the weirdest stuff. I'm ready.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see a Coastline in our future. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much, James. It's time for us to kick off game number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please, it's FaZe Clan versus DarkZero Hajime!
So much, Milos. Kicks, it's been a long 3 months since we've had an opportunity to cast together. So, give me a hug, buddy.
Bring it in.
Let's go. Oh, it's so good to see you again. Not since the Raleigh Major have we been here together to actually be able to bring some exciting action. And you've been in Poland slaving away, and I've been at home losing enough weight that my jacket's actually too big for me now. But
You look good.
thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I've been working really hard by getting sick. So it was, I always wanted to lose it and slim down, maybe not under these circumstances.
There's other layers, right? Hard work and determination.
Speaking of sick, this matchup, Segway, will indeed be quite sick. You got the best team in North America going up against, for a long period of time, one of the best teams in Latin America, and one of the best teams in the world based on their performances over the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, FaZe and DZ both. I mean, that's why they're here, right? And DarkZero, I mean, their formula to get to this land looks just unbeatable. But that's the thing. That's always been the thing with DarkZero. Online, the regular season, they look unbeatable, and then they get to the LAN, and suddenly, just not the same team. So we've all been waiting for DarkZero to show up at one of these LANs and give us an incredible performance like they show us online and bring themselves to the semifinals, to the main finals. And it just hasn't really been a thing that we've been able to get out of them yet.
DarkZero is like the APAC of North America. They struggled for so long after qualifying for a number of events and they never got past that 8th spot. Even if you go to the minor events, we're talking things such as DreamHacks, such as Allied Esports Minor. DarkZero really haven't quite lived up to their potential. So where do you go here? Well, you've got kind of a wounded FaZe Clan, but I think people are sorta underselling FaZe Clan with 9XT. He is not a slouch. He has been a professional in 3 separate video games. That is an astounding accomplishment when you look at his actual resume. And then on top of that, he comes back to Rainbow Six after departing another unspecified video game, and what happens? He sets up in that Pain Gaming lineup, and he was probably the only good part of that Pain Gaming squad
Absolutely.
a season and a half ago. So we'll launch into map number 1, Bank, between DarkZero and FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan's pick, and would you guess it, Michael? Montaigne, banned by DarkZero. Unsurprising, he's a very popular operator employed by FaZe Clan on almost every single attack here.
Specifically Yuna. They were talking about it on the analyst desk, and yeah, Yuna is an absolute terror on Montaigne. You will not see him get to play it very often at this event. There will be moments where the other team, whoever plays against FaZe, will be banning other attacking operators, depending on the map. But Montaigne is a sensible ban there. So is Hibana. That's typical on Bank. You're going to slow down the clear into the basement. You're going to slow down opening those drop downs. Mira and Echo, I think if you've been watching Siege Esports for even a little while, I don't need to explain that. If you haven't, if you're just tuning in for the first time, you don't see much movement on those defensive bans often, especially not at an event like this when the stakes are so high. So Bank, the bans coming out very standard. Montaigne, the most deviation we see there, and it is a specific counter ban to FaZe Clan and Yuna specifically. Now, we're gonna load in here. DZ on defense, FaZe on attack for the start, for the first half. Both hard breachers being brought, everything looking standard right now. There's no suggestion that we would have a server hold from DZ. They're setting up, it looks like operator-wise, for a pretty conservative hold in the site. Interestingly, we will have a 6 pick there off of the Zofia into an Ashe. They serve a similar purpose, but they do their jobs slightly differently, as I'm sure most of you know. Information is abundant on DarkZero too. But you look at that, they brought the Pulse, the Valkyrie, who both have C4. That serves to deny the plant at default when the attack comes in through server. And they've also got the Maestro. So lots of information operators on DZ's side. And all but one of DZ have plant denial. That one being the Jaeger, who will be protecting the defenders from throwables and projectiles.
I just want to talk about the new UI we have at the top, that new banner. I like it very much. Yes, it's very clean. I like that the operator bans are on the outside. The color doesn't go all the way over.
Right.
Production. golf clap in the chat for production.
Well done yourself.
Thank you very much. You've well done.
Great job.
You've absolutely well done yourself. So, all right. Well, it looks like the pilot program skins are going to be in here as well. Keep in mind with the LAN build that there is a select amount of skins that are available, a select amount of outfits as well. There are of course operator outfits that are banned, so you don't have to worry too much about them.
Yeah.
And teams had an opportunity to equip all of their characters ahead of time, all of their operators, etc. So it looks like 9XT is going to fit in perfectly with where Ion sat on this team. And I know that it was discussed quite a bit on the analyst desk behind, prior to us getting into this actual matchup. But I don't honestly think 9XT is going to be that much of a slouch on what they need him to do to replace Ion. The man has called a professional game before. He's been at this level. He knows how to relay that information. And keep in mind, his most significant performance when he was on Pain Gaming was as Clash. Well, if you're not standing there with a shield in front of you, calling everything that you see, relaying that information to your team, then what are you doing on that operator?
Right.
I think he's going to fit in quite seamlessly.
That could do a lot of what Ion was meant to do if he were able to play at this event. Unfortunately, of course, he's not. But moving on from that, I agree with your point. 9XT, he's a professional player. He's got that experience. I am looking forward to seeing what he can show us here today. I think the biggest test for him is going to be, will he be able to surmount the pressure? Because there's a lot on his shoulders. Anyway, it's a clear into the server. Yuna's going to open up that drop down using an exothermic charge, and now progress being made here from FaZe, but they have neglected the Valkyrie cam at the middle of square, and this is going to give a ton of information to DarkZero.
And 9XT could have possibly thrown an EMP somewhere in Skylight Stairwell, but he was positioned on the other side of the map, so we'll see what happens, but it's a death sentence for whoever happens to be playing inside a server. They might have just allowed him to get away. Downhill drop, Nyx could possibly get the very first, but traded off by Astro. What a play to start this matchup. It takes a minute in, and Mint is going to have to do double duty. A frag grenade goes out, and he gets taken down by Mav as the crowd roars behind him, and FaZe will take a numbers advantage. They've got the clear up top, and they've got control of server, but we know it's not quite that easy on this map.
Yeah, you hit server, and you effectively hit a wall. These reinforced walls, the ones that Astro are marking right now. FaZe are going to need to open up that wall, and it's interesting because they've only got one exothermic charge. It's going to be used on the east-facing wall, which is unusual. Usually it's the north-facing one, so you can get the default plant. There's no more hard destruction, so the other one can't be opened.
Oh, that's really rough there. A nitro cell from Hyper could have been the undoing of the planter, but it's hot and cold to come up and engage. He sees two, he can't connect with those shots. He's managed to down Astro in the process, but has to watch the hatch from above. It's 9XT there, and BC is corralled inside a gold vault all by himself. To fight his way out with a UMP and a nitro cell, and this is going to be really challenging. His cross is completely held as the objective goes down from Yuna, and it doesn't matter if Ion is here or not. FaZe need to capture this momentum, and they do so in that very first round, looking quite good in the process.
Capture that momentum. I couldn't have said it better myself, Parker, because that is so important. FaZe managed to get the lead-off round, and it's not even close. That is going to carry them so far in this match. They weren't sure, obviously, having a different player, no Ion, having 9XT, they weren't sure what to expect from themselves going into this event. And because of that, the first win, I really can't stress how important that is. So we're going to have a quick technical pause, and we'll get everybody back in, and we'll get everything started as soon as we can. But for now, a brief delay. That first round tells us a lot of what to expect from this match. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but I sure did. DZ missing a lot of opportunities to punish FaZe. We even saw those moments thanks to Marsu spectating excellently, where DZ were lining up two players, for example, can't land the shots. The Alda, the Maestro, in the red hallway, he had a moment there where he could have potentially taken down two players, and that would have stopped the FaZe attack cold. It would have forced the player on the drop down to actually drop and try to cover directly. And that wouldn't have been fantastic because that's a disadvantageous engagement to take if you're an attacker. On the other hand, we had a Nyx inside of server, unsupported by the player on server stairs, who accomplished very little. We also saw a server stairs hold where Thatcher was not banned, which means the ADSs are gone. The nades are going to be easy use there to get rid of the smoke.
DarkZero has some colleagues, or have some colleagues, who love to play a very specific style on server stairs. They actually happen to be present at this tournament. It's Team Reciprocity, and the way that they stack up a Warden, because Warden negates the need for an ADS. He just activates his ability. You can wait him out, sure. But against a team like FaZe that might not be the most coordinated because they are playing with a new addition to this roster, you can get a lot of value out of that Warden pick. So there's potential there for DarkZero to be able to change this up, but it was a prominent read from FaZe Clan. They understood exactly how to take it. The server hold from DarkZero crumpled, even though Nyx was in an excellent position. FaZe dropped at the perfect time when the pressure came through from that dirt tunnel, and they were able to take server away from them. Mint got eaten by the grenade because he tried to refrag. It was aggressive play from Mint. I liked it, but very well timed from FaZe. Every single step was another domino falling for FaZe at that read, as you put it into perspective.
Now, for those of you who don't understand what's going on your screen, there's a lot going on here. And basically, it's really simple. You got your top down in the middle, team up the top left, side on the top right, and then an individual perspective of each of the players. So just so you don't get confused, just so you clearly understand what that screen is going to mean in the future, you'll be seeing it a lot throughout this event. This is interesting. We have a heavy offside presence here, but Astro will win the fight in the garage. That's really big. That means that the roamers upstairs are going to have to come back to the site, and Astro knows this, which is why he's not choosing to take full control of the garage. He'll fall back, and he'll just take his advantage.
Now, look at the way that DarkZero has set up their squad. Number one, they've got a Valkyrie on the board. Well, no longer. But you've got a Mozzie, you've got a Mute, and you've got a Vigil. This is prominent disruption from DarkZero, and you saw those Mute Jammers go upstairs on the first floor. Why is that? Well, the reason for it is because you want to roam as aggressively as you can.
Yeah.
I want to stop myself for just a second and say, I don't know if Mav just didn't set up Jackal. I would imagine he doesn't. Oh, he loses that fight to Nyx. That's a second great shot from Nyx so far in this game. And I guess there's not much to think on or ponder when it comes to Mav, because he's running breaching charges and no secondary shotgun and no smokes.
It's weird.
Could have been the only set of smokes from FaZe Clan, but it's gone for the time being because Jackal is removed from action. That aggressiveness from Mav, whether it was a read or a call or not, ends up with a very valuable piece of utility gone from the board. It's now on the shoulders of the rest of FaZe to be able to take Skylight Stairwell. As you can see, DarkZero have now employed a second strategy, though, for holding the site. They've also opened up the two walls that lead into server downstairs. This is very different, and it looks like the roam up top from DarkZero has largely fallen off. You've done your job, you've got a kill, there's just a little bit over a minute to go. Get back to site and just try to hold out for the time being, because you know with those walls opened up, you're extremely vulnerable, especially when you have FaZe with full hatch control, as they do now.
They still haven't taken control of server, though, and that's really important. You can see there is one player on DZ on the server staircase. Cameraman going to the tunnel to try and flank Mint, who is the player holding steadfast. He has used all of his gas canisters, which is not fantastic considering there are still 45 seconds left, and he will not be able to fall back because the drop down in the server has been opened up.
Unless somebody's not watching it, which is very likely because FaZe is now maneuvering totally differently, and they're shifting over to possibly a Lockers take, which is where Hyper is playing on the stairs. Astro goes back into garage. We've seen him do this on Zofia and Dokkaebi before. He's got Ash in his hands this time. There's likely a Valkyrie camera in there, but Hyper's too busy being engaged. He knows that there's one coming. There wasn't much HP for Astro, so he takes him down with just a couple bullets. And now Hyper can re-engage onto the stairs. He's got Nyx there working in tandem, and Yuna doesn't look to the side. C75 comes out. Iron Sight's not good enough, but that's a great shot as Hyper pushes up, and Mint's there as well. And as defiant a first round it was for FaZe, DarkZero put their own exclamation mark on round number 2.
It looks like we're going to have a hell of a match here, ladies and gentlemen, and that was a great response from DarkZero. I really like the way that they worked together on holding that main staircase. The shift there from FaZe, clearly not the right call. Obviously, the reason that they're going to go for that is because they could not dislodge the smoke from server stairs. I get it. It makes sense. They put in a lot of time and work, and it just didn't happen. We didn't actually get to see that, but that was what was occurring off stream. Now, that lack of progress for FaZe on server stairs is surprising to me, considering it was a very similar setup there overall from DZ on the site side as the first round. Now, there were roamers off-site, of course, but those were dealt with. FaZe solved that problem. The initial pick on the Valkyrie forced the roamers to actually play safer, closer to their retreats, closer to their defaults back to site, and DZ were fast to return to the site. They did a lot of work, though, on the FaZe. I have to commend DarkZero, in particular, for dealing with that Jackal. When you saw Jackal, it was Mav getting picked off early. That was huge because it slowed down the roam clear. He is the premier roam clearing operator.
He didn't even use his ability. He just walked right in.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Mav wasn't anticipating running the Jackal because I think breaching and pistol is the default loadout for Jackal, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And I think it was just one of those things where, oh, well, he forgot. And honestly,
possible.
that's a pretty big mistake because what's one of the first things Jackal does when he's attacking server? He shoots out the top of Skylight Stairwell on the second floor so you can look down and see at the top of server stairs. So a Smoke or a Warden or a Jaeger or Bandit Shotgun or whoever's playing that can't be as aggressive around the doorway. It was ultimately, it was played quite poorly by Mav. Without trying to point too many fingers here, he could have been a little bit more patient, so.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of kits that are not fully finished out, have you noticed the lack of cosmetics? Because it does seem as if a lot of these players are maybe just throwing these kits together. But
it could be.
It's just a theory. I don't actually know.
Maybe there's a saboteur in our midst.
I highly doubt it.
I'll go in and change all their loadouts. They'll never see anything coming.
So Hyper playing in reception, dangerous position to play, and he's going to be on Doc ACOG. That is the most versatile kit you can have in that situation, because if you take the engagements, you don't get headshot, but you do take a bullet from a long-range fight, then you can heal yourself back up. Also, you've got an ACOG on that laser beam of an MP5 to fight back against the attackers as they attempt to challenge you. FaZe, though, have taken control downstairs, and they can open up from below because they've got Mav on Buck now. He can do a whole heck of a lot of work with this operator in this position on a CEO defense.
Curious to see how FaZe is going to tackle this next problem. BC's already taken a little bit of damage, but that's about all that's happened as we're halfway through round number 3. Now, when you're attacking CEO, your take is going to be the Skylight Stairwell. This is going to be the most important part of Bank for 2 to 3 of these sites.
That's big.
This is very, very large, and Mint is there to possibly open it up and get a kill from below, and he's traded off by Mav, as that was excellent drone work, and FaZe, for another round, is able to put everything together, even with the substitute in their midst.
That's amazing, because FaZe doesn't even have a dead player. Hot and Cold, though, will respond onto 9XT. We go to a 4-4, so this is not unwinnable for DZ. Now, Mav still below, still doing work, but he's challenged by Hyper, who has dropped in the main lobby.
Why is the dog down there?
He dropped in main lobby. He dropped off Banana, and he gets the kill. Now, FaZe Clan are the ones up against a wall.
He stabbed himself with the stim pistol, and he went for broke, and it was the right read to make. Now, Astro knows that he's got another ACOG looking at him, and even though he's got the holo, he'll trade off Hyper. It takes a little while, but 40 seconds means that both of these teams will be barreling towards the finish line. Hard and soft destruction utilized together, and it's Hot and Cold with an ACOG as well to stare down the Thermite. Looks to be Army crawling on in. Yuna's going to be very exposed if he pops up here. He's made his way on in, and he's going to start the defuse just by the desk, the safety of the casing. But there's 2 exothermic charges that have gone off now, and they're trapped. Getting shot like fish in a barrel. They can't stop the diffuser from going down as much as Hot and Cold tries. Gun down is Nyx, and it's all in the hands of the Alda. Hot and Cold, Matthew Stevens, he's been extraordinarily clutch in the long run. He doesn't see to the left. It's the Thermite, and FaZe Clan answers back. Michael, you are absolutely correct. This is going to be back and forth forever, and no, it's not the Thermite, it's the Zofia. Funny, those silhouettes looking so similar. FaZe with 9XT on their own map so far, battling quite effectively. This is no bad map from DarkZero.
Yeah.
If you want to put into perspective, this was the map that DarkZero had a fighting chance of defeating Empire on at the Milan Finals. It was an 8-6 final on this map, and it was very close. But keep in mind that this isn't a very strong map for Empire. Well, over the last 6 months, barring the Milan Finals, it's a 4-0-0 record for DarkZero here on Bank. Now, FaZe Clan is 5-0-2. DarkZero technically has the better record when you look at that. So,
I mean, if you really, in my opinion, if you look at these maps, to be completely blunt, it looks like we're going to have a really close contest.
No matter what.
No matter what.
And then, of course, we have Coastline.
Yeah.
Coastline is the decider of map. Coastline that was banned 24 times in the last 6 months by DarkZero and 20 times by FaZe Clan.
It's a void.
In the last 6
We
months.
don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out on that one.
Well, it's funny because when you get to Coastline, and we'll reiterate these statistics for you for the record when we actually get there. If we actually get there, let's put that asterisk up right now because there's no guarantee that we will actually meet it. But if you look at Coastline, it's 3 losses for DarkZero. That's it. The 3 times they've played it. It's 1 victory and 3 losses for FaZe Clan. That's it. Not an awful lot to go off of there.
I want to bring us back to this match, and I want to look at what happened in that last round really quickly. Now, something very important to note is the way that the Vigil played downstairs. So it's incredibly impressive that FaZe even noticed him. They didn't have any dead players. They had somebody live sitting on that drone in the server expecting the flank. Now, the reason that this is relevant is because you saw how the Vigil used the impact, then set up slowly to line up the shot through the bars to deny the exothermic. That's obviously practice. He knows he can do that. He knows how to do that. But what happened there was that the drone spotted him. If the drone had not spotted him, that impact probably would have been expected to come from Archives.
Yep.
FaZe would have challenged Archives, and then you would have been able to save the wall from getting open using that, well, just shooting it from below. So that's a really nice play there from DZ, and a better read from FaZe. Really impressive stuff coming out.
I want to touch again on DarkZero here because they've been who I've been looking at on defense over the last 4 rounds. You can focus on FaZe Clan here, but DarkZero, when they lost CCTV, they completely blew up their composition and they decided to say, hey, let's try things completely differently, and it worked very well. They killed a lot of time. They got a great refrag onto Mav, onto the Jackal. Well, this time around, you're not going to go to CEO again. You're actually going to go to Teller's Archives, which, okay, you try up another site, but DarkZero's flexibility on their composition is what's really showing off to me here. They are showing that they are versatile. This is something that's been a hallmark of this team for years.
And you know what that is? It's because they do the majority of that thinking, of that processing that we usually see come out in matches from other teams. They do all of that beforehand. Before the match even begins, they're like, okay, if we lose it like this, then here's how we solve that problem. Either that, or they just have the most adaptive playstyle of, well, many teams that we've seen compete in Rainbow Six. Not the most adaptive team, but the play style to fit it.
Mint's going to take a step backwards as he sits on the main stairs, playing his pulse below. He'll have an opportunity for a C4 if required while feeding his team information. And people know that Mint is a very talkative and great communicator when it comes to these teams. He's going to be able to assist Hot and Cold to a certain extent, nestled inside of the site, while Hot and Cold takes down Mav. And Mav, who has some of the best entry stats of any player in Pro League right now, has so far not had the best entry in this particular game.
He's been struggling.
If those stats do start to change, that could be a major make or break for FaZe when you look at the way that how close this matchup is. So you leave Astro up above. Well, he's now going to need to find the Mozzie. He's now going to need to find the Pulse, possibly the Valkyrie. DarkZero is overloaded with information. Every single one of their 5 operators is armed to the teeth with some kind of info. And it doesn't matter how much they have. Say goodbye to Hot and Cold as the second EE1D is going to go. Astro in the midst of sight as Yuna's going for the plant. This is a successful plan at round number 3. BC takes out 9XT, and Yuna's going to get away with it. Astro will hold the doorway, looking to see, but he's vulnerable to the left. Oh, he gets peeked on by the Alda, and it's Nyx to take off the head of Astro. This is a great spot for Yuna to be at the top of Skylight Stairs. He's got clear vantage point of a rotate as well as the diffuser that's planted in front of him. Cameraman finds Mint as the Pulse was playing off-site. It's still a 3v2. FaZe Clan in tough spot here. Oh, and Nyx is going to outduel Yuna, so Cameraman will have to come to the rescue. Can he stop him in time? 4 seconds, 3 seconds, you're at 3 speed, you gotta go. He'll gun one down, but DarkZero takes him out. We got ourselves a ball game, 4 rounds, and these teams are going to be tied up 2-2. Back and forth as the pendulum goes.
That was so well read from FaZe Clan. The ability to get that plant in Archives, beautiful. They recognize the lack of control just inside of the Archives door. They recognize that DarkZero, as they have been throughout this match, are playing very passively. They're trying to anticipate FaZe. They're trying to assume that FaZe are going to be hyper aggro based on the fact that they've got a substitute, and many would suggest that that would be the play for FaZe Clan, but that's not necessarily exclusively the case. FaZe are, I think, pacing themselves exceptionally well. And their read there on Archives, beautiful. But really allowed DarkZero to bring that back is Nyx right here. This is the moment. That's where Nyx brings the round back into DarkZero's favor. Absolutely huge. And if it weren't for that kill, you can expect FaZe would have been able to hold out that post plant fairly easily.
Ultimately, when you put the diffuser in that position, you live or die off of the person who's going to be watching it, which in this case, I believe, was Yuna, who was at the top of Skylight Stairwell, as we said. You're sitting there, and you're not expecting a Maestro to quick peek you, I think, with an Alda, and that's what happened from our perspective. We got a literal front row seat of Yuna getting eviscerated by the Alda as the Maestro swung around the corner. Not really expecting Nyx to play it that way, but Nyx has, on attack, the best entry stats on DarkZero. And he has been cleaning up with very high impact kills at the start for DarkZero. It might come halfway through the round, and it might be DarkZero's very first kill. It's not exactly an entry statistic, but it's a very vital refrag. You're able to trade off an important operator. In this case, you take out Yuna. Why? Now you have no coverage from Skylight Stairs. You only have Cameraman who had to drop through the hatch because he had nowhere else to go. We saw the same thing inside a Dirt Tunnel, which held Server for just a little bit longer and could have possibly allowed Mint in the very first round to exist longer before he got blown up by a frag grenade. So Nyx, who has had consistency issues at LANs in the past, seems to have shaken that out, and he's hungry and motivated, at least for the time being, because he has been the standout player, I would say, for DarkZero through 4 rounds so far.
Astro, what a beautiful camera there. He can see there's 2 players holding on to server, so he's not going to fight that right now. He can always come back. He can always take that fight later. We've seen that from him a lot, a jump back and forth. He is, of course, playing 3-speed, so he's got that mobility factor. Just joining out the main stairs, trying to figure out what he's got to do here to puncture this site. The hold here from DarkZero is back to the hard anchor on the bottom floor. This is their 3rd time defending. Last time DarkZero tried a hard anchor strategy, it didn't work out because they had one offsite presence that got absolutely destroyed, and that was the server presence. 2 players for free for FaZe Clan on the server side. Now I wonder if the server hold is happening this time around for DarkZero, and yes indeed it is. There goes the ADS. Will Mint die to the grenade this time? The drop opened up, which means Nyx has to be careful. It's all looking like the very first round of this match in repeat, but the deaths haven't come yet on the DarkZero side.
And the clock is favoring DarkZero, at least for the time being. The longer that DZ is allowing the rest of their anchors to stay pretty inside of sight, the better it's going to be for them. You're going to have to burn an ADS at the bottom of server, and one of those frag grenades, which has Mint's name on it, is now intended for Nyx, who manages to move. You're going to see a lot of utility dumped on in, and Nyx is circled over to a completely different side. Bad timing, as it's ahead of schedule for FaZe Clan when it comes to burning out those toxic canisters. Mint is a sitting duck for the time being. He's got Nyx backing him up. A drone is going to skirt by, at least for the time being. But there's no coverage at the top of those stairs. Another beautiful shot from Nyx. He's done this again. Oh, and Mint is there too. He guns down Astro. They're having a lot of fun down in server for the time being. FaZe will have to download their remaining 2 members, and it's very close to a final round, but it's all on Mav's shoulders as he takes down Mint. But he's got 4 more members of DarkZero and 50 seconds to go through. Hyper is very low on HP, but Mav doesn't have any real utility, barring a frag grenade. Not much he's going to be able to do. He's expecting a close play from Nyx, but that carbine is going to rattle off behind the server stack. Mav will twist in vain. He doesn't really know what to do next. He's got a clear picture of the site, but you're not going to be able to get there, at least for the time being. Frag grenade out, but it's going to miss, and he panics. Fat fingers, and he can't douse Nyx as he's on fire at the bottom of those stairs.
My God. The game sense from Nyx in that round was incredible. Did you guys catch how when the flashes started flooding in to clear the ADS, he rotated deep into server? And why did he do that? He knew that the flashes if they broadcasted that, okay, I'm going to try and nade you. I'm going to try and get rid of this shield. Nyx dodged that nade. He dodged an Ash charge, and then he worked his way back to server. Because when you're setting up for clearing out an ADS using flashes and then nading it, you're going to use 2 players, and that's a lot of manpower to move. Here's the movement here from Nyx at the end where he gets the final kill from onto Mav. That's another very great play from him because he was aware that Mav had rotated back to the drop down. So many layers there to how Nyx played that perfectly. Meanwhile, Mint on the staircase also did a great job. I believe it was Mint, if I'm not mistaken. He did a great job of holding it down as the smoke, delaying the round. And he also covered Nyx when Nyx was blind behind server from that last flash from the Ash. So layers there for DZ as a whole, but mostly just Nyx Mint holding out the server. Now we're going to a very interesting site. This is open area. You just don't go here very often. And actually in North America, ages ago, DarkZero, as a different roster, we're one of the pioneers on this site. They did do a lot of work on the back end, creating the strategy that I expect them to be employing right now, which is very simple. You're going to be holding onto kitchen, using long angles to hold onto tellers, maybe a little bit of a roam upstairs. You're going to use castle to slow down on the teller side of things. This is all just a layered setup. Basically, you want to slow your enemy down as much as possible and prevent them from accessing the site directly, but FaZe is having none of it. Look at their setup.
Oh, they're ready to go.
Oh boy, this could be big.
Somebody get the bullhorn out as they're about to sprint right on into the finish line, but at least somewhat prepared as there's Mint. He reads into that one correctly. Expecting a cheeky rush from FaZe, well, that's not really a surprise. They love to do it. They've done it on many maps before. The UMP is not going to be able to do much against Cameraman. He gets out of there unscathed, and we're 40 seconds in, and 2 members are dead. One of either team. The castle's down, the Ash is down. BC's watching the rotate hole inside of admin. He's just going to wait patiently for the time being. A drone goes by, he gets shot through the wall. That will not be good for him. He'll escape to the reinforcements as Mav is hot on his heels. But for the time being, both teams will decide to slow down. That rush from FaZe was well read, but DarkZero understood that it was coming and they were prepared, and for the time being, at least, it's been rebuffed. As one of the walls inside of Skylight Stairwell blows open from an exothermic charge of Yuna. He gets taken down by the shotgun of Nyx, gunned away from the Kaid. teams are spread all over. A beautiful wall bang onto Hyper, and now 9XT is in as well. The sound of the EOD goes off. Chaos is reigning over both of these teams, but Nick is there to possibly quarterback defense. 3v2 favoring FaZe Clan. Half of the round is over. Nyx doesn't have very much protection. He'll see 2 flashbangs sail over, and he remains wide-eyed for the time being. It's 2 ACOGs sitting there, Michael.
Great hold position here from Nyx, but he's been spotted now, and the marks come out, forcing the rotate. Mav setting up a nade for someone who's not even there anymore, and it will go wide. 50 HP on Mav, so he can die to a single shot from that TCSG. But Nyx is getting shot from behind. C4 comes out, but it's too late. 9XT, 2 kills in this round, and he's being a big factor for his team. DarkZero down to Hot and Cold, who's managed to light up the Lion and Mav. Only 1 full HP attacker left, but it's the same story for Hot and Cold. And there goes Cameraman. It's 1 shot for 9XT, 1 shot for Mav, and Hot and Cold will win this out. Only 26 bullets left in that Alda, but that's plenty. And he knows this low HP. He can use his Evil Eyes to win this. There's still 40 seconds left, so this is not a rush situation for FaZe. They will pick up Cameraman, so we're back to a 1-on-3. The tension is huge. Evil Eye going to be a massive factor here for Hot and Cold if he can play this correctly. He cannot vault this, so he'll prep it, but that'll give away his rotation and his intentions. It doesn't seem that 9XT has noticed this, though. It doesn't seem like there's a camera, and there's a nice kill for Hot and Cold. He only needs 2 more, and they're both still very low. He can deny the plant with the Evil Eye and just keep himself alive. 19 bullets, so he's got to be careful with that ammunition counter, and here's the denial!
Oh my God!
5 seconds, and Cameraman has to rush! Will he land the shot?
Cold!
Incredible!
One of the finest clutches I have seen, and that gives DarkZero the first half. He calls himself Hot and Cold, but I don't think you could say cold was a word that you to describe that play. Only the ice in his veins. What a remarkable hold, and information being prepped from all of his team as he hops on that Evil Eye at the perfect time. No utility whatsoever for FaZe Clan to be able to take those Evil Eye cams out. What an absolutely masterful play. Oh my God.
I'm shaking my head right now. I
can confirm he is shaking his head.
That's beautiful. That's the type of clutch that's going to go down in history as one of the best. It's not a 1 versus 5, mind you, but the mechanical knowledge there is just impressive from Hot and Cold, and his awareness on the round, his control of the FaZe players, and FaZe had a whole minute to take him down. With 3 players, they couldn't make it happen. Perfect toolkit there as well for Hot and Cold. So, 4-2 in the first half for DarkZero. Wow. FaZe now, they transition to defense, but they transition to defense as the losers of the first half quite one-sidedly. That could have been a 3-3, and that would have been, I think, a good place for FaZe. But that clutch from Hotton, not only does it put you up a round, but think of the mental game going on right now. When you lose a round like that,
that's deflating.
It is incredibly deflating. And you, DarkZero, are going to feed off that win.
Camera feed up and running.
I honestly still can't get over that.
Me too.
It was funny because Hot and Cold was picked up as the no-brain Ash main. Excuse me to all the people watching that happen to be amongst the no-brain Ash main club that's out there. He was on that in that club, and then the joke was he turned 20 years old and got immediately put on hard breach because he was too old at that point to compete with all of the quote young gunners who play this game. Well, this is the value of having somebody who is very adept at entry or secondary entry fragging, because you can put them on a roll like an Echo, like a Maestro, like a Smoke, where there's still exceedingly high clutch and frag potential with the weapons they have and the way that you play it out. Now, keep in mind, FaZe had no clue where Hotton was. That's a significant issue. Whether they were just completely out of drones, they could have been information starved, you know, the drone economy, obviously, but it was really tough for FaZe, and they're gonna repeat similar mistakes here on defense.
Yeah.
Astro's roaming, he's unsupported. Nyx walks in, opening kill for DarkZero, round number 7.
As we go into the second half, that kill is going to build off the last round that you were just talking about. And the factors that were so relevant, I mean, as Astro goes down, he's one of the most important players on FaZe as well. We were talking about, or they were talking about him on the analyst desk, and I completely agree. He is an incredible part of the FaZe lineup. And with Lion gone, you need all of those tools to be at their best. He just was playing at the top of main stairs, and that's really interesting to me because it didn't seem like FaZe were actually setting up for a roam. Did you notice that? It was just, hey, I'm going to be up there. And I don't think that was the right call from Astro. I think that is the type of call that will lose you unnecessary rounds and cost you matches. And at this, I mean, guys, there's only 8 teams at this event, and that's only so many matches. There's not a lot of chances. You lose one match and you're gone. There's no second tries here.
Eunice playing the smoke on server stairs. He's already tossed out what appears to be 2 of his toxic canisters, and there's the second one. So he's got 1 more remaining. My math skills are not quite as sharp as they used to be. It's been a while since I've been in school. He's in tough spot, Yuna is, because, well, you've got that server hatch opened up. He's essentially pinned down. He's got an ADS a little bit deeper on in. There's no real problem for BC on the Thatcher, so you can disable the EMP quite effectively. There's going to go another EMP just by the admin office, and it sounds like that's a Maestro cam that's open. Nyx just jumps right in, takes a bit of damage. Amidst the smoke, he sees the Valkyrie. That's 2 kills for Nyx. He'll continue to wander. Where's the next target for him? Can he find one? Well, he's heading on over towards the elevators, hoping somebody else is going to drop down, but he gets peeked by Cameraman. That Alda is proving to be so effective so far. Downed by Hyper, the C70 rattles around the bars. Yuna will have to come back into the site. He's been isolated for the time being, but this is challenging. He doesn't know where the Maverick is, takes one down. It's only 2 remaining for DarkZero in a 2v1 with FaZe Clan sitting at 0 minutes. Diffuser goes down successfully, and Yuna doesn't check to his left, he checks to his right. I believe that's called the Kansas City Shuffle. And the Americans will take yet another round. 5-2 now with DarkZero very firmly in the driver's seat on FaZe's map.
That was big there from DZ. Could you guys see it? The way that FaZe were setting up, they were expecting a default plant, or at least a plant within server CCTV. But what did DZ do? They threw a curveball, a hook unexpected, unpredicted, and unblocked, and rushed into the site in unison.
It's the Kanto Ricchetti special.
I suppose so. And yeah, we saw a beautiful round individually from Nyx there. It was an old school Ash Rush where you charge into your breaching round. You don't see that a whole lot in this day and age, and it worked out great. So DarkZero, massive props for the perfect call in that scenario.
I was going to say, this seems like a perfect time for FaZe to be able to take a timeout. You get 1 timeout per team per map, so there's a possibility of you taking 3 timeouts if it goes all the way to Coastline.
Yeah.
DarkZero has not taken their timeout, neither have FaZe. FaZe could do it. I think this is it, because if you lose this round, you're on match point. You can take your technical timeout at that point, but then you've got to run it back the whole way. You've got 4 rounds at that point that you need to stitch together in order to push it to overtime. That's not an easy task, especially with how dominant DarkZero has looked. Now, DarkZero's just won 4 rounds in a row, but it didn't seem like that in round number 5. There was momentum from that clutch, and you called it perfectly. It was a deflating loss prior to the clutch from Hot and Cold, and it's just DarkZero appears to be feeding off of this energy.
I mean, you called it deflating, and I agreed, but I think we're on the same page with that one. It seems like FaZe, right now, they're suffering. They really are, and that's especially bad because we were seeing some really great stuff from FaZe in that first half, in at least the first 4 rounds. Now, FaZe, this is 4 rounds in a row for DarkZero. And that's including a half transition.
4 rounds where they have had, 4 rounds where they've had the opening kill in every single round.
Okay.
2 defuses from FaZe, one of which was successful prior to that. But then if you look at the last 4 rounds, every round, DarkZero has had the opening kill. DarkZero has had 1 successful diffuser planted and 1 successful diffuser disabled. That's not bad. So you're not just winning on the objective, you're also winning on kills, and you're getting the opening pick, which is absolutely massive for a team that is as momentum-based as FaZe is. You get knocked on your heels. Keep in mind, sure, 9XT is an accomplished player. We said that from the start. It's not as much of a detriment as, say, bringing in somebody. And he's been doing well. It's not as much of a detriment as bringing in somebody who's brand new to the game. But you're still trying to get him to fit within your system on a very short period of time. And if 9XT is not the first person to die, you've got 3 players who are accustomed to playing together, but then you've still got the beginner on the team trying to sort it out. That is where it becomes very challenging, because a lot of people could possibly argue it's closer to a 5v3 at that point.
And you might not know this, but a lot of things that happen on attack and defense are actually well planned out. Like, for example, droning. A lot of droning is pre-planned. You know where you need to start with your drone in the prep phase, and you know where you need it to end up. But when you've got a new player on the roster, you have to teach him all that. No, you just let him do what he does on that front.
That is not Nyx.
It's been like that for the whole match.
That is Mint.
I've been trying to talk to them, but
they are incorrect. That is Mint, who if you looked at him, you would say, is he an esports player or is he a blue collar welder from rural Missouri? Because that's kind of what. It's kind of what he looks like.
He's an incredible player.
Incredible player, and he's been doing decently well, but he's had both Nyx as well as Hyper there. The smoke is going to pick on out, and down goes Nyx, so opening kill is going to come on behalf of FaZe, traded off almost instantly, though.
We could say that was worth it for the smoke.
Absolutely worth it, and it's Nyx who's had probably the best hand for DarkZero so far when it comes to impacts. Hot and Cold has also taken a tremendous amount of damage. He'll drop that diffuser. Why? Because he is very susceptible to being destroyed by anything that comes out. An errant bullet, a C4 that is in another zip code could graze his skin and he would be dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's only 20 seconds left, Kicks. It's very deceptive. Down goes the cardiac sensor as an EMP will disable the pulse for the time being. There goes the C4, but it misses. Cameraman finds Hot and Cold. He had very minimal HP. Mint is not doing the coverage he needs. He'll find Mozzie, but he lets one escape his clutches. There's Hyper watching two. Oh, two from Hyper with Mint on the board. And Mav will now need to try his best with the diffuser down, but DarkZero marches to match point. That was a great recovery on what could have gone very messy when it seemed like Mint let one slip through his grasp, leaving the vault. But DarkZero picked it up, Hyper in particular. And now, if this is a perfect opportunity for FaZe Clan to take a timeout, they will take it. There you have it on your screen. I think that's necessary. DarkZero somehow bailed themselves out of that situation.
It's absolutely necessary, and it wasn't just DarkZero, it was FaZe as well. The Evil Eye was EMP'd, so it couldn't deny. The C4, though, went on the other side of the site. That C4 just could not deny the plant. And remember when we saw the Thermite hand off that diffuser to BC? Well, the reason is because, look at that, the C4 lands, does damage to BC. The shots are not landing from Cameraman in the garage, so he's not denying that default plant, which allows BC to plant. Mint and Hyper, meanwhile, covering every angle. Just two people. Usually you want to have three in that situation, but two managed to make it happen. I really got to commend Hyper and Mint in particular, but seriously, it was mostly down to FaZe making mistakes. They had a lot of moments there where they could have easily denied that plant, and they didn't even take away one planter. They didn't delay one planter. The first attempt at a plant from DZ was successful.
I think FaZe came into this matchup with very high expectations because 9XT, as we said, he's no stranger to competitive scenes. He knows the team, he knows the play style, etc. But it doesn't really matter how well, I guess, accustomed or adjusted to the strategies 9XT is when you're going up against a DarkZero that, at least for this map, DarkZero appears to be playing some of the best Siege that we've seen them play on LAN. They look calm, they look focused. Nyx, who's had shaky performances in the past, has shown up better than I think you could say he has at any previous LAN, along with the rest of the team. The quiet member of DarkZero right now is BC, and he's usually the person who plays in a way that you understand that he's on the team. He has been a ghost so far, and it's been both Hyper and Nyx with a little bit of Hot and Cold. Of course, that clutch cannot go unnoticed. DarkZero came to play. And I say that because this is a team that in Raleigh didn't make it out of the group stages. They lost 2-0 to FaZe Clan. They're prepped to be able to take a map off of FaZe, which they weren't able to do stateside. This was a team that went out 2-0 in Milan. This is a team that, while making it to the top 8 in DreamHack Montreal, lost 2-1 to BDS, a team that wasn't even in a position to be in Pro League at the time. Yeah, they ended up becoming the best Challenger League team, but I don't even think they played a single game in Challenger League as a squad at that point. DarkZero have underperformed expectations, while FaZe Clan have been a very steady force in this game.
Yeah.
This is DarkZero now, playing the Siege that so many of their fans have thought that they could achieve and get to the point of playing, and now they've finally semi-realized it. Now, I know it's still way too early to give them championship. There's no coronation here for DarkZero.
We're not done.
But
that's a start right there.
That's a bad start for them as Mav takes out Nyx. Say goodbye. That's a spawn peek, and it's another opening kill for FaZe. This is their second in a row.
So you're talking about the history for DarkZero, and yeah, it's been a struggle for them at LANs. Meanwhile, FaZe, they are actually a strong contrast there. I mean, you look at DreamHack Valencia 2019, 3rd place. That's pretty good. Season 9 finals, 3rd, 4th. Season 8 finals, they take 2nd. FaZe are a team that have come so close, and that's just recent history, guys. They've been around for a long time. FaZe are a team that you expect to be doing exactly what they're doing right now. Putting up 2 kills early, the cameraman will be an easy refrag. And oh, look at that. Astro has actually stranded himself inside of stock. He's not going to be able to get out of there very easily unless Hyper gives him an opportunity to do so. No, that doesn't seem very likely. DarkZero having stranded that player. Actually, no, Astro slips away. That's big for FaZe. Astro will die to a single bullet, but the fact that he got out of there, ooh. DarkZero missing an opportunity to bring it to a 3-on-3. Now they're just trying to open up the wall into the site, and they should be able to do this. Unless there's going to be some impact juggling, which doesn't appear to be. You have impacts on Kaid if you really need them, and you have impacts on Smoke if you need them. Oh no, Yuna lost Smokes. He has the deployable shield and the razor wire now, as with the deployable shield changes. So Smoke is not even in that position. That's something that I hadn't really considered because, you know, I haven't cast it since those changes were made. So, but this is a risky part for FaZe for the time being, because once those panels are opened up, you need some significant clutch potential. A fire arrow from Hyper is going to go on in. You know that it's going to fall, and he's able to tag one with Hot and Cold diving in as well. This is the match on the line right now for FaZe Clan, or at least the map rather, and it's their map. So they're going to be equally worried. 40 seconds to go. You've still got Hyper on Repel. There's nobody from FaZe Clan who's going to go for it, but Astro decides to jump out. He has minimal HP. Why not try it? Nav finds his second kill, unable to get the smoke as Hot and Cold, who literally absorbs it right to his face. They're going to have to silence Mav, but there's Yuna. They don't know where he's positioned. Hot and Cold will once again have to go for another clutch. He takes one down. Is it about to happen again? Do you feel the magic with the map on the line? Try to find the Maestro. You're going to need to. You got 15 seconds and you'll get both perspectives. But keep in mind there's going to be intel on the cams that'll be guiding Mav. He just needs to play keep away. He's a 3 armor. He's not particularly quick, but Hotten's going to have to play quickly. He's got the pistol out. Mav turns around and FaZe Clan will at least stop DarkZero from putting it away. DZ is going to have to earn it. It comes still way too close for the Brazilians' likings. What a play. FaZe Clan stays alive. They started it off after the tactical timeout, or technical timeout. I guess it's tactical timeout because it's tactical timeout. And what tactic did they decide to employ? Well, let's just spawn peek with an Alda. And let's be very aggressive. You know that through the 2 rounds that DarkZero have won, DarkZero's ability to entry has been very good. And FaZe have kind of backed off and played a little bit less aggressively than we're used to seeing. So what happens? Well, Bank is a map where you need to take map control very quickly, and there's a rhythm to it. That's what you said about how drones are pre-done. Where you pre-place your drones. Who's droning what? Who's clearing what floor? Who's got their drone situated in what area? So important. Now, FaZe Clan are not going to be the best coordinated team because they are still trying to teach 9XT exactly what they need for their strategies. They can't do that in a couple days. So what can DarkZero do? They can take advantage of that. Entry quickly, maybe get an early pick, which they did on Astro. They got the opening kill, round number 7. FaZe took that advantage away from them. And FaZe played the aggressive long game here, or in fact, I would even say the short game, with how quickly they were able to get the opening pick. And DarkZero got knocked on their heels, and even though it came close, way too close for comfort for FaZe Clan, I think it was a sound strategy from FaZe. Now, you can't really do that when you're defending CCTV lockers downstairs. Yeah, this is the danger zone. Because this is where we've seen DarkZero win twice in a row coming into the second half. FaZe have struggled here. Desperately struggled. They've made a lot of major mistakes. Remember Astro just running up main stairs. Why? No clue. No actual capacity to facilitate that was set up upstairs by the defenders. And I am just curious to know why he did that. Now, assuming FaZe makes none of those minor mistakes, it's not even sure then that they'll be able to win on this site because DZ have employed multiple attack strategies already, and I'm sure they've got plenty more lined up that are going to catch FaZe off guard. And a reminder, in case you can't see the top of your screen, this is DZ 1 round away from going on to map 2. And most importantly, again, top left of your screen, this is FaZe Clan's map pick.
These maps are very balanced, though, if you look at it that way. Bank is a good map for both of these teams. We have Consulate up next. It was picked by DarkZero, but Consulate is a team that FaZe Clan have 7 wins on. Now they also have 6 losses. Whereas DarkZero has 8 wins and 3 losses. A little bit different, but this is still a map that FaZe knows decently well. Good for both. And the way that Latin America plays a map like Consulate, which tends to be quite linear, the unpredictability in their roam, the way that they entry and take map control is very different than what NA and EU are expecting. So it kind of goes both ways on Bank and Consulate, and then of course we have Coastline as a decider, a map that neither of these teams play, so you can't really look at the maps that are here, Michael, and say, oh, okay, well, FaZe has a definitive advantage. Oh, DarkZero has a definitive advantage.
Absolutely.
I think it's a wash on maps, it's which team shows up, and right now, DarkZero is putting in one of the best performances I've seen out of them on a LAN, and even though FaZe is doing a great job with a substitute, I think it's just a bit too much for them with the way DZ is playing.
Yeah, DZ are doing an excellent job right now. Looks like they will be able to lock this out. They are doing actually a very different and very interesting setup with their exothermic charges. They have only brought one hard destructor here, that's the Thermite. With the Bond, the Mavericks not being brought, which means those two drop downs that were just opened up is the only thing hard destruction-wise that is going to happen in this round. DZ are bringing out their third different attack strategy for the bottom floor of Bank. We'll see what they manage to do this time around. So they've opened up the back drop down in the elevator and the drop down above security. Meanwhile, they haven't done a lot by the actual server side, and there's still a player in server stairs. That's going to be Yuna, who's trying to get aggressive, but he'll be pushed back by DZ. Now, slow going here, and DarkZero, they want to rush into security.
Very slow going. Nyx is going to go for the same thing. He misses his shots, but he's got two in front of him. Line him up, and he'll be able to get more than one for his trouble, but Mav is there. Taken out is Nyx and Hyper. So DarkZero faltering as now they are just rushing on in. Hot and Cold is there. He picks up another. He's been so good. C4 connects, and 9XT shows up to the party as BC will need to do it all. He's lost every teammate. He knows he's at the mercy of time. He's got 8 seconds. He'll have to get it down, but FaZe Clan should be able to read into this correctly, and it's 9XT with the heroics in a horrific shotgun utility. Whatever you wanted to call that, super gun all merged together, and FaZe Clan now find themselves with yet another round under their belt. That's 2 in a row. DarkZero cannot let this momentum slip away. They are gonna sit on match point until we require overtime, should we require overtime. DZ, as much as we would say this about FaZe Clan, is a team that can very much get in their own head.
Yeah.
If DarkZero loses motivation, loses hope, then FaZe Clan will be able to capture that same momentum that DarkZero grabbed in round number 4 and are slowly relinquishing. If this round goes in favor of FaZe, I would say that the wind in the sails of DarkZero are completely gone, and their hopes of taking this map might be going dark, as they love to say for their organization.
Now, FaZe, with that win, they will be pushing themselves ever closer to that overtime point. And now, if we do get to overtime, I agree with you, it could be a critical moment for DarkZero, and we could see FaZe actually manage to take this match number 1. Again, as we have stated, I think that most of the maps we're going to be playing here today are going to be fairly close. And I'm actually, to an extent, happy to see that FaZe have not rolled over. Because for a moment there, we were on 6-2. And that is just not what we were anticipating. Not just not what we were anticipating, but actually it would have been disastrous for FaZe in the long run if that had gone to a 7-2. Doubt they would have been able to bounce back from that mentally at the very least. But here we go. We've got an actual match. We've got the 6-4. FaZe getting very close to bringing us to OT, and that's looking pretty good for them now. We are going to be on kitchen defense, and this has only been won a single time, and it was by DarkZero, of the team. And it wasn't just by DarkZero, it was by Hot and Cold in particular, who managed to win a 1 versus 3. So I don't know if you can really count that as an actual, tangible win on this site, as much as more technical one. They got it, but it was close, and you can't rely on clutches. Meanwhile, it's a totally different team, so I'm not sure. We'll see how FaZe choose to defend this. We'll see how the attack chooses to come at this. I'm guessing it's going to be a top floor clear. That would make the most sense considering there is a Jackal on the board here for DarkZero, and it should have plenty of breaching charges, but I did miss that infographic, so.
I don't think there's any defensive structure upstairs for FaZe Clan.
Which is odd.
Which is odd, especially given they have a castle. Now, I know that Mira enables a setup upstairs much more effectively, but, I mean, you have no top floor control. You're very ripe for soft destruction, which, if DarkZero has breaching charges on Mint, they have it on BC, they got a shotgun in Hyper's hands of Jackal. Ash is going to be, pretty important as well for Nyx.
The C4 setup right here is, I think, to deny the drop down from getting opened up, but actually FaZe have moved off of it. That's quite interesting. But to build on what you were saying, no top floor presence. However, I think it's just intended to be as a wide horizontal realm right now.
It could be. I mean, DarkZero really struggled on that last attack. They managed to pull it off with, what, 30 seconds left, and they just jumped on in. Now, that's not that strange, I guess, when you're looking at CCTV lockers. There's a chance that you can pull off and execute that late, but usually it's a much more routine execute. That was a drop through the hatch, go for broke kind of style from DarkZero. Here, you've got just a little bit over a minute left in this round. DarkZero seem a little apprehensive as what they want to do. Viper's managed to use his ability to find one of the defenders who's inside of the main lobby and will begin to walk up those main stairs. So if there's somebody playing banana, they'll be able to capitalize on it. It's BC, goodbye cameraman. He's not gonna be able to do too much. Soft destruction inside of Archives, and it's Nyx to be able to capitalize on that. He's got a long angle all the way back into the open area, but nobody's going to bother to peek. In fact, if you can see through our perspective, there's no silhouettes whatsoever to worry about. Nyx is just gonna hold the angle and hope that his teammates can push them in his direction. But you hear the telltale sounds of the Alda. Yuna finds Hyper, and now Nyx is going to survive and get by with the skin of his teeth. Exothermic charge goes off, and Hot and Cold, who's been stellar in the latter portion of a round, will likely have to shoulder more of this weight. He's going to be fed intel by himself onto the Alda Maestro, and it's going to come down to who blinks first. The Maestro swings on out. Out goes the Ashe. Nyx is there, traded off by 9XT. Hotton cannot connect. 9XT's gunning them down. And there you go. FaZe will lock this out. Goodbye, momentum, DarkZero. For the final round without overtime, as FaZe have clawed their way back. They've put 3 on the board, and 9XT was a huge part of that one. He's warming up. The rest of FaZe is getting much more comfortable. And Bank, be it a defender-sided map or not, is going to go the full distance.
9XT, a lot of question marks surrounding him, a lot of not knowing going into this match. We understand he's a professional player. He's been in a great position as a player in the past, but he hasn't been playing Siege for a long time. So coming into this, people really wondering if he's gonna have what it takes. And so far, through this match, he has given us an incredible performance, managing to put his team in a fantastic position. I feel like without him, maybe they would be a little bit different on how they're setting up. Yes, maybe it would be better even, but he has been doing great, and you gotta really give him some credit for this moment right here, where he manages to take down 2 and hold on to the kitchen. Astro contributing the other 2 elsewhere, and just great lockout there from FaZe. Now we're 1 round away from overtime. FaZe Clan doing everything they can to push us to that OT. And they are going to go to CEO, which was the beginning of the 3 rounds in a row that FaZe have just managed. This is where they first started winning on the second half. This is where they ended the 5-round win streak from DarkZero.
You just survived an open area defense.
Yeah.
That's tremendous for FaZe Clan. They played it very well. They lost the opening pick to DarkZero, but they were able to bounce back right after, and they kept it rolling. 9XT, who was playing very well inside of the site, I don't think was ever spotted by anybody on DarkZero. And then you had the Alda, and then Hot and Cold just simply missing his shots, which you don't miss those shots unless you're a little bit nervous. DarkZero is a team that has never made it out of the quarterfinals. We mentioned that a couple rounds ago. There are nerves and expectations here that are going to be on DarkZero's shoulders that will inevitably weigh on their minds. Now, you have to give a lot of credit to FaZe Clan no matter what happens in this round. If you go to overtime, you've been able to take 4 rounds on your own, which I said was unlikely given the way that FaZe had played, but they took a tactical timeout. Twister, their coach, obviously saw something he liked, and he was able to right the ship for FaZe Clan. DarkZero still has a chance to take their tactical timeout as well. Executes are hard on Bank, sure. But you've got to find some kind of magic to put this one away, because if you go to overtime, you've got to expect that FaZe Clan will have every single piece of momentum working in their favor. And we still got Consulate up, so what a way to start the day here, going the full distance on map number 1. It's always good to see close contests. We expected these 2 teams to be very strong even before 9XT was put onto this roster to fill in for Ion.
Hot and Cold's gonna be able to open up that wall. Meanwhile, Nyx trying to hold the run out outside, and he will actually get Cameraman, who attempts to deny the North presence by running out through a window, it seems. Didn't actually catch that, but that seems to be the case. Now, DarkZero have opened the wall, and they have denied a little bit of site presence by eliminating the castle. That Ashe charge is going to open up the line of sight for the players on North Repel, so they're going to be able to apply more pressure to the site directly from that position. Now, the square presence from DarkZero is lighter than usual, but they've got a decent array here to actually push into the site, and they do have smokes on the Capital. That's Hyper going outside, setting up to cover the plant. There's only 1 minute here for DarkZero, but they are going to be in a good position. The Evil Eyes are going to be a large factor, as will the smokes, in this coming push.
FaZe Clan is going to have to play with their anchors a lot more sheltered than before, because last time the opening pick went to FaZe Clan. They took Nyx out of action, and then they snowballed from there. It still came down to a 1v1, if you recall. Oh, that's a great play. Astro's going to lean in, and he's going to go for another, but he's not going to get it. Traded off by Hyper as he does the suicide dive out the window. Nyx is lying prone inside a lobby. Somebody might be coming for him, and indeed he is. He spots the Maestro and Mav. Goodbye, and FaZe Clan's chances are just evaporating in front of their eyes. 9XT and Yuna, who may not be the most reliable as 9XT gets gunned down and Yuna's on such low HP, he won't be able to do anything. The momentum was seized by FaZe Clan, but DarkZero is there to steal the first map. FaZe picked bank, but DarkZero will pick up a very big victory. We'll look to Consulate for map number 2, but that must be a sigh of relief for the North American squad after how close that one came.
It certainly was a very close match. We were 1 round away for going to overtime. The critical moment in that last round was where Mav decided to go into main lobby to deny the North Rappel. Now, if you didn't know, there's an angle from main lobby onto the North Rappel windows. You could easily challenge that, but we'll let the analysts actually dive into the details.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the analyst desk here. DarkZero able to really close this off as FaZe Clan got a bit too close there, tasting overtime, but not quite.
I mean, that was kind of terrifying from DarkZero's side. They're at a 6-2, and they dropped 3 rounds in a row. I know that they were trying different attacks and trying not to be predictable, but if you found something that made you go to 6-2, then maybe just do a little bit more of that and close out that map, because you still got 2 more maps to worry about.
DarkZero have for a long time been known to be that team that's a masterclass of the pocketbook, the strat book. They have numerous things that they like to bring out. They like to keep it original, as you said, and that got them to match point. At that point, I think FaZe realized we just need to start to break 3 of what the hold that DarkZero's had onto us, and I think that's when things started to slip away for DarkZero.
I mean, the base strats they're doing are great. They are really good. The same with their top floor take. It's textbooks, right? You got 2 on the rappel, you got 1 covering ATM, you got 2 guys attacking from inside. It makes it really hard for the defenders to get any kind of control back once you've given just an inch of the site. But when you change everything all the time, that doesn't really play up well against a team who has nothing to lose, who's fighting off the back of having a sub as well. Do some little bit more simple stuff, do it a couple rounds, see if you can keep a lead there.
And that pressure from the windows really on the final site, if you look at CEO, that was so essential. There were 2 players that dove out of the windows from FaZe Clan, and something that they did consistently throughout this series, but they also did it a lot in the past. I mean, Mav in the past has done a lot of work like this, jumping out with Valkyrie and getting a kill or 2 on the rappel. So this is not an abnormal strategy to see FaZe Clan executing. It's just DarkZero adapted to it. The first time they fell for it. The second time they're like, you know what? We're going to put more manpower to deal with it. And Nyx going in through the ATMs and going into lobby, that was the great play. Catching the Maestro off guard, it just lost you so much firepower. And even in a matchup like this, 9XT was able still to do quite a bit of work for FaZe.
I think that's one of the things that made the big difference for FaZe. Around that turning point, 8 rounds in, they decided, look, let's stop trying to play on DarkZero's terms. We're actually going to peak a lot more things. And it did take DarkZero by surprise because they had such a confident start to that game. As soon as they started getting 2K'd, 3K'd, we saw rounds where DarkZero completely got stormed in the last 10 seconds because a player on the objective would just peek out and find 2 kills. We saw 9XT and Kitchen on the Maestro demolish 2 players from DarkZero where he really had no right to. And it was finally when DarkZero began to read into that on that last round, dedicating Nyx to the flank watch in lobby, knowing that FaZe are going to keep throwing players at him. That was what worked in the end to close the deal.
And FaZe ended up doing something pretty smart. They started bringing the castle together with the Maestro, and seeing as Nyx was on the Ashe, Nyx was not very conservative with his Ashe charges. We saw him do soft hatches. That could have been, done a little bit better economically for the team. So going into Consulate, which Maestro is absolutely terrifying on that map, both on lobby, basement, even Tellus. I'd like to see them either bring a Twitch or Sophia just so they have a little bit more to deal with this Maestro cam. Also, relying on the Thatcher to open up all the Maestro cams, it's too little failure points for reliability.
Yeah, and it's DarkZero. They're not really afraid of bringing out a Twitch, for example. You've seen a lot of work done with the F2 specifically, and then you have the flexibility. But again, this is Consulate, so now you have to deal with a lot more Mozzie, a lot more Mute. How do you go through on all of that?
I'm keen to see the operator bans for one, because on Consulate, it is a map where an operator ban can make a huge difference. You ban something like Capital, like Thermite, completely changes the landscape. And we've seen teams find ways to get around that, find ways to adapt. We've seen people try to use a lot more frag grenades in place of the Capital bolts. Doesn't always work quite as effectively. We've seen people do all kinds of things with Maverick and Hibana, even in combination more recently, to open those Thermite-sized holes in the main wall. So could see a bit of a shake-up. I reckon there were some missed opportunities in terms of what utility that both sides, not just DarkZero, also FaZe, were bringing on Bank, and hopefully we'll see some even more creativity in the next map.
I'd be afraid for DarkZero's ability to drone if FaZe starts doing, stacking Mozzie, maybe elevated mutes downstairs. It becomes really difficult to get info on that site, and if FaZe is willing to just run around and take gunfights, because we've seen they're fully capable of fighting one-to-one with every DarkZero player. That's not their weakness. Their weakness is communication and how to anchor down and deliver the same result every round, whereas DarkZero has done a lot better in that way.
Yeah, you can see how DarkZero kind of clear and concise is. Every single move, every single step is calculated and has been prepared, so you can tell the communication is there. It's just when you have to face against some of the best aimers in the world, you're already at the top level here at Pro League, and on top of that, you have one of the best Brazilian teams, one of the best in the world, and they're gunning for you.
And we know that DarkZero are precise, they are methodical, and it's up to FaZe to throw a spanner in the works. They started to do that, and eventually DarkZero read back into it. I reckon if we go into the next map, FaZe keep their footing from the start, they don't let it slip to such a heavy advantage, 6-2, they could totally pull through there, because if that first half hadn't looked quite so dire for FaZe, we would still be casting that match right now.
Honestly, second round on Bank was a prime example of how I think FaZe should be playing. They ended up losing that round, but the fact that Astro sprints in, gets an entry frag in the basement, then instantly leaves this picking and prodding, I think that will be exactly what they need to actually put a dent in DC.
Yeah, that was the FaZe Clan play a year-ish ago when they first got picked up, and you're like, okay, they just show up, they get 2 kills, and then everything calms down. And the defense at that point just don't know how to react to it. But you talked about the operator bans, James. Let's just talk about our first 2 attackers. This is Consulate. What are you expecting and why?
Well, Mira and Echo kind of the safe bets. People globally, they like the Maestro more than the Echo. They do fill a similar kind of role, so we're probably just going to see one, if not both of those taken out. I'd love to see a spanner thrown in the works, a Jaeger ban, a Mute ban maybe, because information gathering is so powerful. Mute, there's a lot of great spots on Consulate. For the attack, you can't let Capital and Thermite, all these really powerful operators stay in there. I personally think that just makes it too difficult, too abusive when you're on the defense.
I mean, both teams favor banning Capital, Thatcher, Hibana, Thermite on attack, and it's unrealistic we see anything but Mira and Echo on defense unless they have something new to show us.
Could be Nomad as well for FaZe.
Yeah, sure.
They do like to play for that flank game, and Nomad's quite a common ban on this map, more so for DarkZero than FaZe, however.
And a tricky question for defender bans. We've already pretty much always predicted Latin America to be running a Valkyrie on Consulate specifically. Is this the time where DarkZero say, we're done with this, we're not going to allow you the comfort to roam around and take gunfights?
I'd say if you're willing to let a Valk go on Bank, then you're willing to let one go on Consulate. They're fine with running an IQ, and the main cameras they're going to have to worry about are 2 outside cameras for Consulate. That isn't the end-all be-all for them, because as long as they still have man count, it doesn't really change the dynamic of that fight too much.
And in terms of information gathering, it's difficult because you ban out Valkyrie, what are they going to play? Pulse? Echo if you leave that in? Mozzie even? So there are so many substitutes for that operator that I feel like banning Valk doesn't have that, on a map like Consulate, doesn't quite have as much an impact as it used to, because Mozzie is fantastic and he has that secondary purpose of denying drones. And Echo as well, I mean, you can use that aggressively like a Valkyrie camera, or you can use it for plant denial.
What about the Monty? Like more in detail, both teams use and abuse the operator, and even the Blitz, we were talking about it from Yuna. Is this shield play from 2 teams very well known for bringing it going to be something here, especially if Thermite's going to be banned for garage attacks?
I don't think we're going to see that much shield unless we make it to Villa. It's in my opinion, way too easy to lock down a shield on Consulate. For basement, sure, it can really help you get a plant off, but for upstairs, you can't really, like, pushing stairs with shields really suck, because you almost always have a difference in elevation where you can fight back. As long as Legion is in play, you get stuck on stairs, you're dead. Smoke stacks, you're dead. Rappelling up, I mean, you can go for an app and take, but again, then you can't leave and rotate. You're stuck. This is what you have to do from now on. As soon as that becomes predictable, then the fear of the shield kind of goes away.
Every now and then we do have players and teams that are happy to embrace the shield, even when it's not kind of normal, even when it's a little bit out there. You could call it a cheese pick, and Yuna is a player who is going to bring that out. And I think DarkZero, they're a team that's happy to just play conservatively and get rid of it nice and early. They banned it when they were playing at the Allied Esports minor against both Airwolf and Ninjas in Pajamas. Now, Airwolf makes sense. They're a team known for playing a lot of shields. Ninjas in Pajamas, not necessarily quite so much. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially after we saw the ban on the first map, to repeat that. But again, are you going to leave in Capital? Are you going to leave in all these other really, really strong, powerful attacking operators? Nomad, Capital, Thermite, that can have such a big impact.
You talked about the lack of soft breach at times. You know, maybe this is the time to bring Zofia and Ashe. This is a map that really fits very well with both operators. And we've seen how effective breaching charges are, especially when you're not really forced to bring a Buck or a Jackal, really. You can just opt out of that. There's the combination that works.
I mean, you mentioned Buck, but the Buck ban might actually not be that dumb, because Buck is extremely strong on Consulate.
Exactly.
If we start seeing stuff like Tellus, we've seen that being run a few times now. It's definitely, without a doubt, the least favorite bomb site for most teams, but there are some new things that have developed lately on that might change pretty much everything.
And we've already seen these teams are keen to go to those left-of-field bomb sites, with Kitchen picked at least twice.
So there's definitely possibilities for that in there. Now, Jackal is probably going to be an important operator in this one. What do you think? Because usually, I mean, we saw 9XT running Lion quite extensively on Bank. You're afraid of the roam game from DarkZero. You bring Dokkaebi, you bring Lion, you bring Jackal. Roam game is going to be really important on this, especially if you're defending downstairs in the garage. Dealing with the attackers is just so much easier when you can peel off and just fall back should you have information support from a Valkyrie or an Echo.
And you've got operators like Vigil that we see DarkZero playing that makes it harder to drone, easier to roam, and on top of that, I actually didn't know this until kind of recently. It slipped under the radar, but Vigil's ability doesn't get line scanned. If he uses his ability, he can move around freely, doesn't get scanned.
You even read the patch now.
And it was a long time ago. I know, it was a long time ago, and I missed that at the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we keep seeing the Lion brought by FaZe. DarkZero are just going to run that Vigil if they want to keep roaming aggressively. But honestly, if both of these teams roaming, it's FaZe that I'd be more scared of. DarkZero are that rigid team, and if FaZe can throw that spanner in the works and fight back and really cause some disruption onto the attacks of DarkZero, that throws everything out of sync for them. DarkZero's roam game, it was pretty good. We saw that great roam game through the Tellers area on one of the first rounds from DarkZero on Bank, but honestly, I think it's FaZe that you need to be worrying about on the roam.
And how do you allow for that flexibility if you're DarkZero? Realize you might be a bit too constrained by strategies, just something we used to look at a lot in year 1 and year 2. Here, when you have a team that has nothing to lose, everything's on the line, how do you just untangle it?
Well, if you set up proper, then you're always favored against that Roma that comes, right? So it's on FaZe to have the exact perfect timing to not get caught. Because if you got a proper setup on your attack and you're trying to get too much pushing going in there, it's not going to work. You're just going to lose 1-2 Romas, and then everything's on the anchor side, right? The Lion pick seems to be a mistake in my book. They didn't get much out of that.
Yeah.
And with the Jackal changes, it's not that he is nerfed to the ground at all, but it definitely impacts the value, right?
I think we're more likely, if we're talking about contending roamers, we're more likely to see Nomad played. In my opinion, I think on Consulate, there's a lot of ways you can cut off those stair rotations. We've even seen Gridlock. Depending on the situation, she can be a little bit less potent than Nomad, but also she has the additive of the soft destruction from the shotgun and the smoke grenades that Nomad's lacking, so could see either of those. I see Nomad banned a lot, especially in the APAC region on Consulate, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that taken off the board to allow for those flanks, especially from FaZe. Consulate, the one thing I'm just so excited for is that it's a map that both of these teams have played the heck out of in the last 6 months, last 12 months. Both of these teams have so many VODs, which means they're going to know each other like a book, which means we're going to see a lot of new things brought.
And I'm quite I'm quite intrigued because you mentioned the gridlock there. The gridlock jackal combination actually works very well, specifically when Nomad is banned. This is a map where, especially if you're playing basement or if you're playing in Teller's Archives, because you were mentioning the site, a lot of teams will set up most of the players downstairs in Archives, and gridlock shuts down literally the only 2 rotations. You can count the 3rd one if you want to go up banana and spiral, but that's a very risky maneuver to execute.
Well, if you go with the gridlock, you're going to have to do top-down clear because Consulate, you can go from top floor to basement in 3 seconds, right? You got hatches everywhere, and all the hatches leads from top to main to basement. It takes almost no time. Getting back up again is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So if you do a top clear with gridlock, it's great. If you're running the Nomad, I'd go from outside and straight to the bomb site instead.
Yeah, FaZe are a team that have historically been fairly predictable in a lot of their operator bans and such like that. Last time they played Consulate, it was at DreamHack Montreal against Onyx. They banned out the Mirror alongside the Capitale. So I think if you're coming in as DarkZero right now, they're a team that does their homework. We know that. We talk about that all the time. FaZe is a team that often stays the same. So I think DarkZero are going to be feeling pretty comfortable coming into this match, knowing what their opponent's going to ban, which means they get to choose the landscape for this. Do they want to leave that Nomad in? Do they want to leave the Monty in there? Of course, we saw that banned out on map number 1. Thermite. There's a lot of really, really potent operators, not just on the attack, but on the defense as well. We've talked about information denial, information gathering, even wall denial and that kind of thing. So DarkZero, to me, they're the ones that get to design the landscape of the operator ban phase coming into this map. And like I was saying, it's FaZe. They just need to start going out there and putting DarkZero on the back foot, getting those 2Ks, getting those 3Ks. And as long as DarkZero don't shut that down by getting rid of things like Nomad, I think FaZe could definitely have an impact here on Consulate.
Yeah, some teams struggle, though, with taking into lobby when this is the site that's selected. For me, it often means that you're not as good on taking the top floor as well. Do you think this sort of problem would happen for either one of these 2 teams, or would it really just depend on the operator bans that would limit them?
I don't think the operator bans are gonna matter that much. Like, both teams are so known for very specific bans. Even if they do ban it, like, it's still only 2 attackers you ban, it's still only 2 defenders, and you already have you always have some sort of crossover. Unless we're talking about very specific operators, maybe Thatcher or Jaeger, there isn't really anything that replaces them. And even then, you still have Twitch to deal with certain things, you still have Rook to make you at least not die instantly to explosives. Yeah. Whether you ban Nomad or Gridlock, it allows for a different style of play, but it doesn't change if you can attack a certain side or not. So if we start seeing them struggle with lobby, I assume we're just going to see piano takes over and over again, with a little bit of cover from top floor, maybe open up garage to make sure no one drops bathroom. And at that point, like, you have more than enough on attack to cover all angles and everything you need to deal with.
This is one of the few maps where the attackers actually have a slight advantage. Over this season, it's like 55% to the 45, so it can get pretty close. Gentlemen, closing thoughts before we get into this game?
FaZe, they deserve at least 1 map. I reckon they're going to take it.
I think DarkZero is sick of throwing in the last couple of rounds, so I think they're going to take it now.
All right, thank you very much. It's time to go into game. Ladies and gentlemen, DarkZero versus FaZe Clan, Consulate, Hajime.
All right, I think on the right side it just said late. I thought it was just Consulate, and I was like, are we behind schedule on getting into map number 2?
Did we mess up?
Did we blow something here? Well, this is a good map for both teams. One of these teams will likely blow it. Are we going to see? Will DarkZero blow their 1-0 lead? Will FaZe Clan, can they manage to stick it out, or are they going to blow a possible comeback here? Well, Consulate is where it's going to start. DarkZero will be on defense for the 2nd time in a row. They're going to take care of a Thermite, all right.
Well,
pretty standard stuff for a Consulate.
Yeah, that's just going to make your basement hole a little bit cleaner.
I wonder if FaZe bans out a Thatcher here. That's the question, because he's one of their highest banned operators, but no, he's going to take out a Capitale. Hyper was rocking the Capitale on almost every attacking round for DarkZero in map number 1, so you're going to get rid of a pretty good operator who was utilized. Not just a good operator who exists, but an operator that is in the arsenal or toolbox, rather. I like that the crowd here has booed. They have jeered every single time Echo has been banned.
Really?
The first 2 maps. Yeah.
I haven't noticed.
They were like, ah, was basically the sound that they made, just in case. There goes Valkyrie as well, banned by DarkZero.
That's interesting. I mean, it is the Japanese operator, so I guess there's a certain sense to it. But he's such a common ban within Siege competitive play. So to see him banned out, to me, is just really like, yeah, go figure. We'll see if that's going to be anything new for the players. I doubt it will be. We'll go ahead and get into this match ASAP. And, well, so far, nothing too crazy. I'd say this ban phase played out exactly as you expected to on Consulate. Now, it is going to be DarkZero starting on defense. Despite them being on the blue side, they're starting on defense. On attack, you have FaZe on the orange side.
Defenders protect.
Yeah, it's swapped. It's swapped. Let's get into the action. Downstairs defense, what is out of the ordinary? Well, number one, Mira is actually allowed in this game. I believe that there was a rule that was passed roughly a year ago that said no Miras allowed. And basically what happened was every single team in every region, they all got an email, and all the team captains were like, okay, everybody come on in, everybody come on in. Thank you, every single member of every single team being here. No more Mira, no Miras allowed. All right, everybody go home. And that was basically the whole conversation. And then everybody was like, you know what? I guess that's what we got to do. Got to get rid of Mira on every opportunity. Now, Consulate is a map where we actually see her remain unbanned because there are better defender bans. Now, when you look at operator bans across the board, sometimes they're counter bans to a particularly good player. Example, when Achieved was tearing things up on Buck, a lot of his North American compatriots would ban out Buck. On defense, there isn't as much flexibility. Usually on defense, you see Echo, Mira, Maestro, far and away the three most banned defenders. And then you might get a Valkyrie, you might get a Pulse. You might see a Smoke if you're a certain team that has a goofy strategy. But usually, you're not really seeing much outside the big three, if you want to call them that. In this case, Mira remains unbanned on Consulate because a lot of teams don't run her. And even if you do, she's not as pronounced on this map. There's lots of soft destruction. There's plenty of hard destruction, whether you have a thermite band or not. So,
FaZe, now going into this round, have taken control of that top floor. They've used the Jackal to great effect now. They've isolated the roamers to that bathroom. And now, DarkZero just trying to delay at this point. Now, the thing about roaming in the bathroom on Consulate is it's a little bit of a bunker. When you set up in that bathroom, you can use that position to delay for a significant amount of time as a defender. More importantly, you have a drop down to retreat from. And Astro has just cut off that retreat for Nyx. He's not likely to be able to fall back on this drop because of Astro's position.
He's in a battle to the death right now with Astro. His Mav is above. Astro simply existing for the time being, but he's going to let him get away. Nyx is going to drop, but then Astro takes out BC. Oh my. Oh my goodness. He decides to peek through the hatch with the Alda in hand. Not exactly the wisest of moves. And BC is removed from the board. Opening frag will go to FaZe. It doesn't come that late in the round when you think about it. There's still over a minute to go. Piano control on a garage defense is incredibly important. Well, it's been given up by DarkZero. So you still could possibly watch some of the hatches with the Kaid. He's got his Electric Claw. There's no bandit batteries down here, so Astro's gonna have a bit of a challenge to be able to take that breach denial off of the garage panels. Hot and Cold gets aggressive on the stairs, takes off the head of Astro. He's been on a heater. Hot and smoking hot, I guess you could say, because there's, like I said, there's nothing cold about his play except for maybe the ice in his veins. Cameraman finds Hot and Cold, so he'll get one frag and then immediately be silenced as the Jackal gets in and then immediately gets out. Sounds like the Electric Claw might have also been successful, as some soft destruction has been stopped. There's an opening on the left-hand side of the panel, but the right panel will remain closed. This is going to be very challenging for FaZe. They also lose 9XT. So Cameraman on yellow stairs knows that he'll have to be very brisk in this push. Yuna will get pushed off of that garage, and he'll have to come help his teammate as the smoke will at least cut off some of the visibility of DarkZero. It'll even things up as Mint sprays through Yuna, tears him down. Mark's coming out. There's another for Mint. Nyx is now going to position himself to possibly capitalize, and it's Mint with the final 3 kills. That's as good as you're going to expect from him with a kit that you might not rely on to be able to win a 1vx situation. Now, Mint had some teammates, but he didn't really need them, as DarkZero is able to put the very first round on the board.
Yeah, Mint gets 3 kills in that round. Big plays from him, and just in general, DarkZero, when it came to the site presence, doing a great job there. They lost, of course, the Maestro early on, but that was not as important as it could have been otherwise because of the lack of focus on the main garage panel that we saw from FaZe. Yes, they did push their Hibana outstairs to open that panel up. Yes, eventually that was where they were pushing from, but look at the time when they went for that push. I mean, the round was, it was dying. The round was basically over. And yeah, there's that 3K from Mint, very clean. Now,
using the new farther ADS toggle mod on there, as you can see, is
not an actual thing.
Not an actual thing for people who are going to say, wait, is Mint cheating?
No, it's a spectator bug.
I will tell you, sometimes when Mint plays, it kind of looks like he's cheating.
That's true.
He's so damn good, but no, that's just a spectator bug.
Yeah, it's just a spectator bug. We get that one a lot. It actually looks really nice.
It's actually, yeah, it's been popping up from time to time.
It's aesthetically pleasing, but it's
actually,
also,
you know, it does look a lot better. It feels like when you go back to the old Source games and you set your field of view to like 190
maximum.
You can see like up to the shoulders of your character model.
Exactly.
And you're like, you put on one of those giant 4K curved monitors and you can see like complete 360 around you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily practical, but it is really immersive. Speaking of immersion, we're going to immerse ourselves in this round now, because we've got DarkZero up 1, but they only...
Smooth transition.
Thank you. They only have that single round. Now, it's a really impressive comeback there for DZ, but it mostly just came down to, the dying seconds. In this round, they're going to be going to the relatively new site, though it is about a year old, and they're going to see what they can make happen here.
This is going to be something to watch. 9XT is on Nomad. Now, this is a very linear map. We've talked about it before, that there's, you know, you can cut off flank routes, and unless there's a lot of soft destruction done, which DarkZero is doing very effectively, they're taking 30 seconds into live action, and they're still knocking down some walls, still remodeling just a little bit. But 9XT is going to be stuck on Nomad. That's not a necessarily easy role like Thatcher is, for example. So he's going to need to know exactly where those air jabs are going to go. Now, a Consulate is a map that is played often by FaZe, so it's very likely that 9XT has gotten some experience here on this map, assuming that it's going to come out, because if you're Twister, you know DarkZero's probably going to pick Consulate. If you're going to end up playing it, you got to prep ahead of time. But still, it's challenging to know exactly where to put those air jabs, to how to move with the rest of your team, because Nomad can be a flex secondary entry for a lot of teams.
Now, here's something really important. We're seeing a top floor clear from FaZe, right? And there's no players from DarkZero upstairs. They're not even trying. But what is that on the DarkZero lineup? You may have noticed there's potentially 4 C4s on DZ. They are begging the attack to take tellers so they can C4 deny from below. I mean, look at the setup. Cameraman will be shut down by Nyx as Cameraman attempted to go down the Visa stairs with nobody droning for him. You saw that drone even come in late. That was a little bit over eagerness on the side of Camera.
That's the only set of smokes from FaZe Clan that are gone as well, providing the Cameraman actually adjusted his setup. It was Mav who had forgotten it last time. The Cameraman on Jackal comes with a set of smokes. You're likely going to be running that. And I believe he did because Cameraman threw a smoke out on Jackal round number 1. So safe to say that he probably still had it in his arsenal. Now, you've still got utility from FaZe Clan. They love running this Finka play. There's not a single hard breacher on FaZe Clan because they don't run it that way. They love their bull rushes. C4 is going to go, but it won't connect. That's one missed, but you've still got an added insurance in the remainder, as you pointed out, of what could be up to 3 C4s remaining in Mira, Mute, and Pulse's hands. Plant going down for Muna. Heartbeats raining through, 1 second left, and it looks like FaZe will be successful. No late C4 to stop it, and FaZe will now get into a post plant. But Hyper is there to get Yuna, shot him in the back. 9XT guns down Nyx. That castle control that was on the stairs is now gone. 9XT looks the wrong way. He gets taken out by Hot and Cold, so Service Stairs have once again got somebody sitting on it. But it's a completely different player. Astro gets the read, can't trade him out. Great crossfire from Hot and Cold, and Mav above. Can he do anything? No, Mint is there, and it's a clutch from DarkZero. All of the numbers from FaZe bleed away, and 2 in a row from DarkZero as they get the opening frag. The diffuser goes down, but they'll get the disable and the round to boot. 2 in a row for DZ.
I gotta say, that was mostly down to FaZe losing their fights. I mean, we even saw FaZe read the positioning, their crosshair placement, all on point. Everything was looking good for FaZe. Meanwhile, DarkZero, what happened there? They had 4 C4s, not one of them connected. And it seemed like it was a blunder from DarkZero. It seemed like they had lost control of their own site, and it felt like FaZe would be able to lock that out. But then, all of a sudden, DarkZero winning gunfight after gunfight, pushing in together right there. And this, most importantly, I think highlights what that round really was. And it's just, Mav read the push-up Visa stairs. He peeked the Visa stairs, and then he lost the fight. You really can't put it any other way there. DZ won their gunfights, and they bring themselves to a 2-0. And that's why we'll have this tactical timeout from FaZe Clan. Good timing. They're going to do this earlier than they did last map, and that's going to give them a better chance at bringing themselves back into this.
It's the right time to do it. I mean, you came so close in both of those rounds. What was the main mistake for FaZe in round number 1? Well, they were never able to effectively clear out the Kaid, who was playing so far back. That was Mint's operator, who was playing inside of the small office.
Yep.
He had to rotate if he needed it to possibly get out and go into the break room, and he also, of course, is the doorway that leads to the main hall with the double doors at either end. Well, that electric cloth thwarted the X-Keros, or at least 2 of them, rather, that was designed to open up that first panel. The third panel got opened up with 1 burst, but you can't get through that. It was up too high. It was only a viewpoint for FaZe to look on in when their passage through panel number 1 was gone. The breach denial worked effectively, and if you know about Kaid, the way his electric claw works, when you throw it, it takes some time before it can operate. Well, as it's charging up its power, an exothermic charge from Thermite is very fast. It tends to beat out an electric claw and will still get the wall open. X-Keros don't function that same way. They take a little bit longer. So the Thermite ban that was brought out by DarkZero was likely done because they knew that if you're not going to be bringing a Maverick, which usually you'll see a lot of teams bring 2 hard breachers, it's going to be a Hibana, in which case you'll run a Kaid in response to it. That was an opportunity for FaZe to possibly ban out Kaid. Instead, FaZe took care of Echo. It's one of their most banned operators on defense. So you're kind of bound in at that point.
Look at that statistic. 63% win rate over 16 attempts, being the team that plays Teller's Archives, the site we just witnessed in the last round, the most at this event. Impressive statistics there from DarkZero, and they definitely proved that that is, well, I mean, the statistics are representative of the facts there, as we saw a pretty strong hold there from DZ, despite the missed C4s in abundance, mistimed C4s as well. Now,
if there's a team, though, let's be honest. If there's a team that's going to pull off
the weird site,
yeah,
it'll be DZ.
It'll be DZ.
I mean, they're that team. Now we've got early aggression here into the site. It's going to be piano control for FaZe Clan, and there's no one from DZ to hold on to this. A beautiful read from FaZe Clan. They must have drone this. Astro's trying to get his way into the bathroom, but he's not going to be able to make that happen. He will, though, get the Evil Eye at the very least, and Cameraman managed to get Hyper from the Yellow Stairs skylight. Min BC, though, answering back, and they get 2. FaZe Clan now at the disadvantage.
Just waiting for Min inside a bathroom. He's gonna have to fight his own way out. It looked like the plant might have been going down. It falls off. Unit gets the frag and then goes right back on with great use of his utility and possibly, oh, more from BC. As he gets 2, he gets spotted by the EOD. But Mav is only the last one left, and DarkZero finds them again. FaZe Clan tried to do this on Bank, and they got shut down by DarkZero. They now try to do it yet again, and they get shut down once more. That's why you take those timeouts. And it was such a good strategy when the timeout was taken on Bank for FaZe. What did they say? Well, we take the timeout, we immediately pivot, and we go for early picks. We know that DarkZero is great at establishing control. If they can get that first pick, they snowball. And DarkZero has a huge success ratio when they do that. So what do? Well, you go for broke. You play very aggressively, almost, some people would say, brainlessly. And you managed to take out, it was Nyx, if I remember correctly, by Mav on Bank. So this time around, you say, okay, well, let's take a tactical timeout. What are we going to do? Let's just rush right into the site. It's a lobby defense. DZ has taken an extraordinary amount of time setting up the last 2 rounds. You know that if you've droned it. You know that DZ is still setting up 30 seconds in. So what can you do? You catch them with their pants down. In this case, DarkZero were able to rebuff that push after they knew that Astro was in, after Cameraman got the very first pick. DarkZero just turned around and fired back, and they landed their shots, and they made it work, and they got the round.
I would call that a really fast round from FaZe, and the aggression into Piano was, I'd say, well calculated. Especially impressed by the overwatch that they set up on the Yellow Stairs skylight. Cameraman, though, after getting the initial kill, did not rotate. His position given away was an easy pre-fire for BC, who got that kill, got that refrag, and brought DZ back into the round. That freed up Yellow Stairs, and the reason it freed up Yellow Stairs is because FaZe were very spread out. They rushed into Piano, yes, but they were also doing a great job of spreading their forces. What it meant, though, is when they spread out like that, you lose one player and there's no one to back him up, no one to take his place. That prong of the attack is gone. And we saw that from FaZe. One prong after another in succession being quickly taken out. So good job there to DarkZero, just challenging at the right moments, getting control of that attack. And now 3-0. They're looking indomitable right now. And Cameraman is looking very focused.
It was mentioned on the analyst desk prior to heading into this matchup that Consulate is one of the maps where attackers aren't necessarily at a massive disadvantage the way they are on a map like Villa or Bank or Clubhouse.
Well, decently
it's
balanced.
a decently balanced map,
Yeah.
and the attackers do absolutely have a fighting chance. FaZe need to be able to walk away with a couple rounds here because that opportunity for attackers to win rounds will extend to DZ as they get into an early altercation. But the SMG-11 is just a bit too hard to control as Nyx isn't able to get the shots he needs onto Astro. Astro will now maneuver over towards the main stairs and then continue walking over towards Yellow. He sets down a breaching charge and will open things up. He'll have a bit of an entry into the bathroom, but he gets shredded by Nyx as the wall blows open next to Nyx, so not quite safe harbor for the Mute. He's going to be spotted by the Jackal. This is a really tough spot for Nyx to be in. Once again, that's Mint on the camera, not quite Nyx. If that hatch is opened up, Nyx can possibly drop, but this is going to be very foolish. Frag grenade goes in, it sails over the head of Nyx, but he gets traded out by 9XT, who's there, and he thinks that there might be a second body, so he fires away, but nobody from DarkZero is playing that position anymore.
That's a really good kill there. It took a lot of time, but not the least efficient clear of a bathroom roam we've ever seen. FaZe also got punished, but not in the extreme, so they can still take control of this round. Now, the really big benefit is what we're watching right now. It's Mav opening up from above. FaZe are going to be able to leverage this for a lot. You're going to reposition the anchors. You're going to cut off the rotations between sites. But there's a C4 placed just now, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it could actually work out for DZ. There it is. Yeah, placed by Hot and Cold. Now, he's waiting for the buck to come back to the hallway there. That's placed by the bathroom hallway, and it's not happening right now. Nade goes into kitchen, misses, does a little bit of damage.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, it's a sliver.
Mav's above. He's got all these openings. This is the position that you'll see the soft destruction play in, possibly a sledge up there. He needs to be wary of a C4 as well. If there's a read that comes out from Hot and Cold, well, it could be an explosive end for Mav, who's lost a lot of HP. There go the smokes from Cameraman as Yuna's getting the plant down. 9XT gets the cover on the mix to Mint. He was pivotal, and now Hot and Cold is down too. It looks like that second floor control, or at least first floor control, was so pivotal. Successful diffuser down, and BC knows that they're going to try to escape, but he's in a tough spot, very minimal HP. Hyper's on the case, he takes one down, tries to pre-fire, won't grab it. Yuna is there to silence Hyper. BC doesn't have very much to work with. He's gonna fire away at the Hibana, hasn't downed her. Mav is still above, completely blind. BC will look for some salvation at the back of the white truck, but it's Mav above as BC couldn't see a single thing. Oh my. Blinded for so long. I believe they call those terrorist hunt flashes, and FaZe Clan will be able to put one finally on the board in round number 4.
So, FaZe get themselves in this map. Finally. Took them a while, but yeah, they're here. They're showing up big. That was a well-executed round. I can see the tension on the FaZe players' faces. It's obvious, and I'm sure most of you are picking up on that too. And yet, that last round was executed near flawlessly from FaZe Clan. A few minor things here and there, but it was very well put together on the attack. And you gotta be impressed by how that pressure is there for FaZe, and yet they are still managing to put together round wins. That's a really good attack there, not only from NXT, who you saw get those 2 kills, but Mav especially. He opened up from above, and then he did not stray towards that C4. He could have opened up above kitchen. It's an option. You could do a lot. You can cut off rotation aggressively, but he knew that it was a risk because he could have been C4'd from below, and he did not take that risk. He simply stayed vigilant on the rotation cutoff from above, and he was a big factor for his team in denying the diffuser plant denial.
Yeah, Mav was the linchpin of that strategy.
So big.
If you lose piano control and there's a retake, whether it comes from spiral stairs, which was a possibility, it actually looked like you could have possibly had somebody rotate up spiral stairs because I believe that was a blind spot for FaZe. But nobody from DarkZero knew that. Now, if DarkZero doesn't have information, be it a Valcam, be it a Pulse, be it, even just default cameras up, you don't know to go back up, take those spiral stairs, the main stairs, whatever you want to call them, and then go towards the piano where Mav was playing. It doesn't really matter. If you're DarkZero, you don't really need to worry too much just yet, but everybody from FaZe appears to be assembling, or at least most of them appears to be assembling over towards Visa. Now, they could go for broke, rush on in, blow up the hatch inside of Visa, and drop down the server if they need to, if they want to take Garage very quickly. That's not what's on the docket, at least for the time being.
There's a lot of options right now for FaZe, but it looks like they're going to be going again with a top 4 clear. Now, I'm assuming the reason they're going for this top 4 clear is very simple. They did get the plant, and they had control, but they managed to botch it in the end. And by they, I mean FaZe. FaZe botched it in the end because they couldn't win their gunfights on the retake that DarkZero brought out. Now, that is interesting because as much as that is true, we did actually see DarkZero make the mistake of missing their C4s and allowing the plant to happen in the first place despite having a heavy C4 strategy. This time, it's DarkZero doing something entirely different, though. They're holding the top floor. You've got Mint in Cafeteria, Hyper, and Hot and Cold trying to hold on to Coffin and Soda. And, well, the first little bit of damage goes the way of Hot and Cold, who will retreat through Projector.
That was just bad timing. Hyper was trying to draw somebody from FaZe Clan out to take the fight. I don't think FaZe knew how many people from DarkZero were above. You've got Mint up there, you've got Hyper, you've got Hot and Cold, and everybody's taking a bit of a beating. Hyper's there! What a marvelous play! And he gets traded off by Mav, but so worth it if you're the alibi. Rips through 2 members of FaZe, and you haven't even conceded the top floor. There's Hunt for one. He knows somebody's swinging into paper, and he's going to pull out as quickly as he can. And Mav will try to chase him down, but the shotgun doesn't reach quite that far. That leaves Yuna down below to pull this all off, and DarkZero just needs to ride out the storm. There's a minute left, and Mav has a bit of a cheeky look on his face, knowing how badly that just went for FaZe. That collapsed so quickly.
Yeah, you could see his reaction as soon as he realized, oh no, I've got the shotgun, he's running away. You saw the moment where Mav realized he and his team had just lost control of that engagement. They just lost control of the potential sway of the manpower. Mav must have spotted the player under the desk, and that position's gonna work against him. Now he'll be picked off easily. Good information gathering from Mav. There's only 30 seconds for the attackers to go for this plant, but they still have that diffuser in hand, and they're droning out one player underneath. Another piece of great information gathering from FaZe Clan. They've opened up from above. Mav's looking to punch this player out. It's BC though, and he's watching it. He'll get one and the second. A headshot onto Yuna, and DZ go up 4-1.
You're talking about the exceptional droning that we saw from FaZe Clan there, which it was, and we saw it on Bank a couple times too. The ability for FaZe Clan to get drones in under the radar of DarkZero, be it in the Bank garage, be it inside of Teller's archives, be it inside of open area.
Yeah.
All these different parts of the map where there's lots of debris, there's clutter, there's different angles, you can hop a drone up above the line of sight. Well, Consulate provides that same thing. And you don't really need much drone work here if you're DarkZero. You don't really need much intel. You've got plenty of sounds working in your favor, but FaZe Clan did not drone this out. The very start of this round, FaZe Clan's drone work was not what it needed to be. It picked up in the second half.
And was good.
And was very good.
It was good.
It picked up in the second half. It allowed them to secure a kill almost a second on the Mira. If there had been some better or quicker coordination, though it is very difficult to be able to, collect that information and then communicate it that fast. But that round could have been so much worse for FaZe Clan. And it was drone work that saved them in the second half of the round. It wasn't enough, but it gave them a fighting chance.
Yeah, and we've been seeing that a lot for FaZe. It seems like many of these rounds are FaZe Clan have a fighting chance.
Yes.
And they just barely, every time, are not being able to push it through. Now, this is a really interesting note I'd like to highlight for you guys. As many of you may know, Consulate is a site, or a map rather, with, well, 4 sites that are all very easy. Well, not easy. They are all balanced. They're sites you can make work. And that's really important because not every single map has that. But we haven't seen a top floor defense. Not this whole half. Not one top floor defense from DarkZero. They are avoiding it, clearly. And that is unusual. Now, we will be seeing in this round a top floor roam from DarkZero, but it is a middle floor hold. And FaZe seem to want to go for a yellow stairs take like they did in the last round, last time they attacked here. However, it looks like they'll be executing it a little bit slower.
It's the very final attack round for FaZe Clan, and we said that you need to be able to put up some attacks because this is a map where you're not going to get a greater benefit from moving to defense. I mean, maybe you will. Maybe with the way that this is set up, maybe with the fact that a Maestro is unbanned and that a Mira is unbanned, though Mira is not always a staple of FaZe's setups. We've seen Yuna play Mira before, but not exactly an operator that's in the toolkit or the tool belt of FaZe here. This is a must-win round for FaZe if they want to be able to win this map. I fear for FaZe that if they lose this, DarkZero, just simply by numbers, will have no problem putting FaZe away on that second half. You've already found yourself in a bit of a hole. It's 4-1. You've got to salvage something, maybe try to grab one round, and then, well, the sides are going to switch, and you're going to lose a bit of momentum no matter who wins it here, because you're going to have to do the opposite of what you've been doing for the last 6 rounds. In this case, I like that FaZe Clan have kind of gone back to a bit more of a normal setup, you know? Their Finka strategies work from time to time, but DZ is a very strat-heavy team. They're very prepared, and they know exactly what's coming. Now, I don't know how you prepare for that with 9XT still sitting inside a spawn with 30, you know, a minute 30 off of the clock.
Well,
FaZe Clan gets the opening pick.
Yeah, and that wall that 9XT is on is actually a really powerful position to cut off rotations inside a piano using the windows. Good read there from 9XT, and opening pick indeed. Nyx looked like he wanted to get aggressive there, and he's punished for it.
And it's funny because, of course, there's an operator named Nomad who stops you if you jump out of those windows. The moment that his feet touch the ground, he gets knocked away.
Yeah.
But it's instead the Nomad there on their own. Hyper's going to juice himself up, but he's going to run outside and hopefully find somebody. There he is. Goodbye, 9XT. He's on cam duty. It doesn't matter how new you are to the team. You're helping them in some capacity, and Mav is thwarted by an ADS. So it's an answer back from DarkZero. 40 seconds remaining in the very final defense for DZ. Cameraman creeps on up on that second floor. He's in a collision course with Hyper, but Yuna's downstairs. Nobody knows that he's planting. C4 goes off, it misses. Yuna should be able to get this one as the rest of FaZe are doing a great job of holding everyone at bay. Diffuser goes down, and Cameraman's gonna add to the FaZe tally. Mint's in trouble, but he sprays through. He manages to tag Mav. That's a great shot. A hero play like that. Down goes Hyper. Cameraman is there, and Mint will need to clutch. He's only got 26 HP, and he doesn't exactly have the toolkit that he needs with how far and long distance FaZe is going to play. He's going to get shut down heading out of the bathroom, and a must-win round for FaZe. Will they do it exactly as needed? That momentum that they get will be somewhat dissipated by the side swap, as FaZe will now move to defense. But still, a 4-2 scoreline on most maps is pretty standard on Consulate. I don't know exactly how you want to chalk that one up. I think it's one that we're going to have to look at after the match is over to see if it was really just a defender-sided map or if DarkZero have been the better team so far.
I mean, you said it yourself, Parker. FaZe needed 2 rounds out of that first half in order to salvage this match, and they got it.
Yep.
With those 2 rounds, I think it's definitely possible they'll bring this back in their favor. That's a nice little transfer there from Mint. He was shooting at the floor and managed to find his target with the end of that magazine from the SMG-11. But no, the round in general there mostly came down to how quickly FaZe were able to take control of that top floor. And they didn't even leverage it very much. They mostly were focusing on piano. But you do notice how fast DZ fell away from the top floor. They were setting up for a top floor roam, and then suddenly they're not there anymore. And then FaZe don't need to use the top floor as much as they do need to deny presence there, so they transition over to their piano take, and they make an amazing attack happen. So, as you can see, Nyx having a really good overall entry frag through this match.
So he's +3 on opening kills in that case, and heading into this matchup, Nyx was +8, if I remember correctly, on entry kills, and he was leading the way for DarkZero. Now, when you pick up somebody like Hyper, you have flexibility on who's going to be your main entry. Nyx, in this case, has been assisted by his teammates, sure, but additionally, you've also got Hyper there for backup, and both of them have worked in tandem very effectively on attack and on defense. That's his opening duels. Keep in mind that that doesn't consider whether you're on attack or defense. It's just an opening duel. If you're roaming, as Nyx does quite often, and you end up in an encounter and you win it, that's a successful opening duel. It's not even just necessarily entries. DZ has a lot of depth on this squad. We've said that many times, as does FaZe as well. Both of these teams have earned their reputation of being top teams in the world, though one of them has struggled more on land. DarkZero has never been able to get past the quarterfinals. They have never performed in the semifinals at an event of this caliber.
And that's when you contrast it with their amazing online performances.
And I think a lot of people would say that because they are not just momentum-based, but additionally, because we use that phrase a lot, momentum-based. What does it mean? Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative. It gets the people going. But in this case, I think DarkZero, it's a mental game. It's absolutely a mental game, and that's what I touched on in that very first map on Bank, when they started to lose the plot to FaZe. When you lose the plot as DarkZero, your momentum disappears, you get in your own head. This is a team that literally needs to unshackle themselves from the expectations that have been weighing them down, and this is their best opportunity to do it. Now, we're about halfway through round number 7, the very first crack at attack for DarkZero, and FaZe Clan's best chance at defense, at least to start with. This is an upstairs clear. and it's a downstairs hold. So DZ, I don't know if they're droning in or not, but 9XT finds Hyper very effectively inside of the bathroom. He's trapped, and he's gonna hit the deck. He hasn't been downed, but he's gonna hit the ground, at least for the time being, just to try to evade all of the bullets that are going above him. And he'll manage to outduel Nyx as well. All right, well, you're using those skills that you find. I guess battle royales are you against the world, and in this case, 9XT is showing his skills firsthand, along with Astro there. A 2v5 now for DarkZero, as Hot and Cold gets picked away, and it's all on Mint's shoulders by the hallway. He pulls out the secondary, finds Astro. Oh, that's a magnificent shot. But 9XT finishes off Hot, and 3 kills for him. What is Mint going to do? He's got a lot of time, but he'll languish, at least for the last little bit. Mav is down, Mint is there, and he'll try to outduel him. He'll flash himself, allowing Mav to re-engage if he wants to, opens up the hatch, and Cameraman comes to the rescue. Mint gets taken down as it's a 4-piece for 9XT. Indeed, a man against the world. 1vx, that's all it takes for 9XT, and FaZe will put their second round in a row together.
There you go, FaZe. They are making it happen. Now, FaZe don't have a lot of streaks when you look at their history through this series, actually. In fact, they only have one other streak, one other moment, and by streak I mean rounds put together in a row, is what I mean by that. FaZe in map number 1 managed 3 rounds in a row before losing it 7-5 in the very last round of regulation of that map. And that was devastating, but it was also the only moment where they managed to put 2, let alone 3 together. Now we've just seen 2 in a row from FaZe, so they're going to be able to take that and turn it into something if they keep their focus. That was a great hold of the top floor. In fact, I would go so far as to say that that hold of the top floor is the sort of hold where you look at the attackers and you look at that VOD and you go, this is exactly how not to clear out the top floor roamers on the bottom floor defense. And you study that to avoid making the same mistakes that DarkZero made. There's a couple things they did wrong there, but the most egregious of all is the way that they cleared out without actual information. They were pre-aiming, trying to rely on the aim that has, to be fair, has been working out great for DarkZero through this match. They were relying on their aim and not enough information to clear out that top floor, and FaZe punished them for it. Great job there to 9XT, especially in the bathroom. He stopped that clear from the east side dead in its tracks.
In 9XT last round, he was the Apex Predator. 4 kills.
I see what you did there.
You're going to keep him on Mozzie in this case. And you're going to move the operator that 9XT was a little bit more accustomed to playing, which is Clash, into the hands of Mav. Now, Mav is somebody who has a very strong voice on this team. It's not really going to surprise you to see him in a position where he's going to be shot calling. I think Clash is going to be a very effective operator.
Yeah, it allows him to become kind of the command center of the team. He's a little bit harder to kill, and he doesn't have to worry about gunfights. It takes a lot of, power away from your head to actually focus on hitting that shot. It really takes focus and determination. That's why you see these roles get split up. Mav is that leader. He needs to be the one to lead his squad, and from a Clash position, I think he's going to be plenty capable of doing so. Now, it is the first time we've seen a top floor defense, by the way, so this is something new for DarkZero and FaZe alike. See if the Clash is going to be a relevant factor here. There is no Zofia for DarkZero, which is big.
I believe it was the great literary piece, Shrek, that was talking about onions being layers. Well, if we look at the defense of FaZe Clan is an onion. There's a lot of layers that you're going to have to rip through here.
Yes,
Number one, how you juggle your utility. You're likely going to have Astro positioned with his ADSs to try to eat out all your projectiles and stuns, etc., which are going to be very effective against castle barricades and the Clash of Mav. How are you going to utilize that? Will there be some aggressive ADS juggling? I guess not, as it sounds like a grenade lands on the head of Yuna like an anvil, and a run out is, oh, no, Hyper takes out Mint!
It was a nice flick, though.
I mean, it was a great flick, but now you've lost 2 from DarkZero as you say goodbye to the Thatcher and the Twitch. This is going to make it even more challenging, because how are you going to disable the shield of the Clash? What have you lost in terms of drones from the Mozzie? What about the ADSs that are still on the board?
And that Clash is going to be giving information to 9XT, who lands the C4 on the Repellin. DarkZero. This appears to be the critical moment where they start falling apart, because this round so far has been mostly DarkZero undoing themselves. And that is difficult to watch considering how amazing their performance has been so far through the day.
Oh, Astro is just lying in wait right now, and Nyx is going to just crouch on through, but he gets stopped, at least in his tracks. No running in the halls, the Clash will say. And this is such an agonizing spot for Nyx to be in. He's not going to be able to do much against this shield. He has no utility to do much at all. BC swings in to try to help his teammate, but Astro is there. And indeed, it's Astro with yet another. The man roams all over the map. He's got excellent control, and we have a tie game between these two teams here on Consulate.
That's the second time in this series that FaZe has managed to get 3 rounds in a row. Big moment for them, and that's going to draw up a lot of the momentum, as we like to say, that will carry them forward. Again, you can see the emotions playing on FaZe's faces, and what's more, this is really important, you can see it on DarkZero's faces. Did you see Mint's face when he got TK'd? I mean, that's about how anyone's going to feel when they get TK'd. And you could see it clear as day on there on his face. Unfortunately, it doesn't show in the replays, but wow.
Was it Mint or was it Nyx?
It was. Because
okay.
What I do know is that we were looking at Mint because I stared at Mint's camera and he went like this or something along those lines. He was having a bit of a moment. One thing I will say is the cameras are not all accurate. So I know I was looking at Mint when someone got TK'd and I know his reaction. I don't know who it was that actually got killed. And yeah, the cameras are not always linked up. That is actually Yuna. We're looking at Yuna, so we can check him off the list. Yuna, correct. At least there's that. Now it's going to be a middle floor defense here for FaZe. They have defended the bottom floor, top floor, and now they go to the mid. So we know what their 3 primary sites are on this map. They do not favor the Teller's Archive site. Not as much as we saw DZ favor it. Or even not at all. It'll be a top floor hold on this middle floor site.
Unsurprising for Lobby because you need to be able to keep control of that second floor. You know the attackers are going to clear in from there, so...
Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff. You want to be able to hold the top floor because you know that the longer you can waste their time, the longer that you can make them spend utility, and especially if you can eat up their drones on that second floor, there's a lot of different, I guess you will call them rat corners that you can play in when you're a defender on Consulate. So if they don't have drones to spot you out, well, that's going to be a challenge to be able to determine the remaining members of FaZe Clan and where they're situated. And so far, FaZe Clan has been the undeniably better team at droning. On defense, whether they have information at their disposal or not, they've been able to read DZ's movements over the last 2 rounds, which is why FaZe have so far been undefeated on their defenses. It's going to be incumbent on DarkZero to possibly drone out well. Michael, I think it was you who dealt with this last time when it was England who had the Doc shotgun.
It doesn't happen often.
It doesn't, but you're going to play very tight angles with the shotgun. Honestly, it's a great shotgun. It's just attached to operators that have MP5s with ACOGs.
Yeah, usually you're gonna favor the MP5, but I think Mav has been favoring the shotguns in this match. He seems to be struggling with hitting his shots, and he's understanding of that, doesn't care, and is trying to pick something that he doesn't need to worry as much about precision with. And that's gonna be that Doc shotgun. You can also overstim yourself and take fights with that shotgun that you otherwise wouldn't be able to with other weapons.
Try not to read into this too much, but a bit of a mischaracteristic play there by Hyper. He missed an awful lot. He missed his drone on the window and he missed his utility. That can be nerves setting in for a team. That can be nerves setting in for a very specific player, knowing that you have just squandered a lead when you had the match within your grip. And now, well, it's a very even ball game between these two teams. And a minute to go with everybody still alive. The defense are favored, at least for the time being, because there hasn't been an effective clear from DarkZero on that second floor. They've worked their way in, but they haven't really taken any ground up. This is a lobby defense. Need we remind you, you need that second floor under your control if you want to be able to pull off a plant, unless you happen to be FaZe and you just run in and there's a gigantic blind spot yourself from DarkZero. But down goes 9XT. He's found by BC for the time being. DarkZero gets the opening frag with 40 seconds remaining, and they do appear to at least have second floor control finally.
That was a very late opening kill, and now DarkZero really need to take site control. Well, it's going to be hot and cold, repelling in, uncontested. He has the diffuser. He can go for the plant. He'll attempt it. There is an Evil Eye that can deny this. The impact opens up another angle, but Nyx is covering, and he gets the kill. BC also on the cover, as well as Mint, and now it's just Astro in a post-plant 1v5. This could be a flawless round for DarkZero, stopping the 3-round streak that FaZe Clan has managed to rack up. From behind, though, Astro hears his opponent, flicks onto the head, and lands the shot. He's got to clear out upstairs, outside, and inside the building in order to get this disable, and it's not going to happen. DarkZero shut Astro down. and stop that streak.
They will not let FaZe have the lead whatsoever in this contest. FaZe has led for exactly 2 rounds. They led in round number 1 on map 1, and then they led after round 3 on map 1. Since then, it has been all DarkZero in the driver's seat every inch, every mile, every kilometer, whatever unit of measurement you would like to use. DarkZero executed that strategy almost flawlessly.
I agree.
Hot and Cold repelled in after they knew that they had cleared out Piano. They knew that there was nobody playing below with the C4 that they had to worry about, and of course, you're not playing aggressively above it in console office. So Hot and Cold comes in, he goes into the safety of the corner of the room and starts to plant. Well, what happens? Nyx is already in that room. So my mic just randomly cut out. I apologize. I don't know how that happened. Nyx is already in there watching the angles, and BC was watching it as well from above. So what happens? Every single member of FaZe that tries to push into the site gets cut down. They don't know that they've lost control as much as they have.
You know what's really incredible about that strategy, too, that DarkZero set up? You notice how the kills were spread out amongst the players. Now, what that means is every single player in DarkZero there was relevant in the site take. There was no dead weight. There was no one off somewhere else in Narnia, doing a flank hold. None of that nonsense. As we see often happen with a lot of these set-up strategies when you're trying to clear into a site. So you really got to commend DarkZero for their ability to have everyone hands-on. That is so important in Siege. You can see Bacon back there, sure proud of his team here.
Just a reminder to stay hydrated.
Yeah. Drink that water.
Drink water.
It really is important.
Just go get a glass of water right now. You have about 45 to 50 seconds until you need to be back for live action. I'm asking you, please stay hydrated. Go get some water. Just water. Tap water. I mean, try not to do bottled water, single-use plastics, or destroying the planet.
On my flight here, I didn't get enough water, and it was a terrible experience.
They dries your skin out.
Dehydration.
Did you moisturize ahead of the flight?
I have. Yes.
Did you moisturize ahead of this flight?
Yes, I did actually.
You did.
Yeah. So we're good on that front. But dehydration,
it's very key. And you look at DarkZero. You don't want his energy levels to go dark. So he has what appears to be a 2-liter bottle of water, and he's consumed most of it. Obviously,
smart.
He'll be sweating it out if it's hot. It's good for your body. It's good for you. It's good for everybody here. So just a friendly reminder to you. Now, this is also as we've been talking. As some would use the word rambling, but as we've been talking,
I would use that word.
I would not use that word.
Okay.
Both teams have now taken their timeout. So it's free and clear from here on. FaZe utilized their timeout in the very 3rd round. Right after they'd lost the first 2 to DarkZero, they use it, they lose the round, and then they win the next round after that. Okay, it was kind of a wash. FaZe Clan made a comeback after we swapped sides, but it had nothing to do with the tactical timeout. DarkZero are likely looking to put this away. You take a tactical timeout, what do you think the theory behind that is? You take a tactical timeout after you just won a round after losing 3 in a row.
So, I mean, I get what you're getting at there. It's the opposite of what we're used to seeing.
Right.
Most teams, when they win a round, they're like, let's carry this quote-unquote momentum and let's keep the ball rolling, let's just push it forward. And DarkZero, they take their tactical timeout after winning a round and stopping the streak, like you said, from FaZe. That is kind of weird, but I like it. I like that thought process from DarkZero, because you know what? When you're in a timeout, you just won a round, you've just stopped your enemy from taking the lead. I mean, that's really big. You're going to be in a great mental space. You're going to be able to talk about what you think is actually most critical and most important about the overall match, and less what is important about that one little thing that happened in that one round, that one time. And that is, I think, what tactical timeouts are most useful for. Creating new ways of approaching, whether it be a site or just in general, the enemy team. Trying to read your opponent and distributing information that individuals have gathered throughout the match and have not been able to tell everybody, because you got to be focused on that round constantly. There's a lot of different layers to that tactical timeout, but I think good timing there from DZ. Yeah, I think in their mind, what that tactical timeout it really symbolizes is the final nail in the coffin and their ability to lock out this map and then, by extension, this series.
You just want to hope that there's a good result after it. I mean, you're not taking a tactical timeout and saying, you know what, we're probably going to lose the next one.
I mean, there's probably a scenario at some point where that might happen, but no, you certainly don't want to say that.
Now, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing from not just FaZe Clan fans, but fans of other teams that are watching this that might be more of a casual viewer and think that 9XT is the issue. Sure, Ion obviously is the front and center of a lot of their strategies, and he is somebody that they are dearly missing, but oh my. Nyx is just going to walk right in. 2 free kills. Cameraman trades off Han, but Nyx is inside of the site. Cameraman finds another, all right. So now you've lost 4 people. Nyx is trying to find some, but can't find any more. Hyper's in. He's got Mint there. Can't outduel the smoke, playing on the, or rather the mute, playing on the back of the white van. There's Nyx. He gets another. Mint with the double kill too. It's all on Cameraman's shoulders. He's got 5 HP. DarkZero read this one perfectly, and there's Nyx again. Oh my God, was that 3 kills for Nyx on the round? Match point for DarkZero. You take the tactical timeout. I guess it worked. I was gonna compliment 9XT, and then this happened, and now it's match point.
And just like that, it's not just match point, it's series point. We're 1 round away.
DarkZero to get out of quarterfinals for the first time ever point.
Yeah.
Because I know everybody calls it these wonky things. What's the very tired caster phrase? They're like mad. They're like game point, map point, championship point, everything point. Well, it's not actually. It's not actually everything point. It's
not, because we're in the quarters.
We're in the quarters.
This is actually the first match of this tournament.
Stop saying that.
Yeah.
Stop saying everything point. Everything doesn't. I mean, is it championship point? No, it's not. If DarkZero wins,
did I say everything?
No, not you. I'm saying in general. Speaking in general. Okay. Speaking in general. Okay, but I want to finish my 9XT comment because
9XT.
We are on the precipice of this match being over. DarkZero looked steady to put it away. FaZe Clan falling short, even though they've kept it quite competitive through these 2 maps. A 2-0 does not tell the full story here between these 2 teams. But
no, it does not.
9XT is top fragging on his team. He might have just lost it to Cameraman in that last round, but
possible.
9XT has not really been the issue at all. They have not been the problem. Or he's not been the problem, rather. 9XT has actually played exceptionally well, especially here and in the roles that they've required of him. These have not been easy roles. Mozzie, Nomad, these are not starter roles.
I would go so far as to say that no matter what happens after this event, no matter the result of this match, no matter where 9XT finds himself, he has added to his value as a Rainbow Six player. And it will, in my opinion, his performance at this LAN will open doors for him.
I mean, keep in mind, he did take a bit of a sabbatical, if you want to call it.
And he has some mechanical mistakes too. Did you notice how much he was struggling to use that Maestro shotgun?
And I mean, and sure, but I mean, you're talking about a guy that hasn't played high-level competitive Rainbow Six in a year, and he is better than I will ever be at this game and play better for this team.
And that's why I'm thinking he's got more value now.
And I will also say that 9XT is better than a lot of players in every single region, even though he's had time off. So
yeah,
if you're one of those people who are going to go online after and you're going to break the bones in your fingers aggressively typing about how 9XT was the problem, then you must hand in your Rainbow Six card because your knowledge of the game is not particularly top tier. But with all of that said, FaZe Clan will look back on this as a missed opportunity, and obviously they have missed Ion being on the squad. They have kept it very close. Map number 1 was a 7-5. This could be a 7-4. These are good score lines for a team that has had to recover after losing a core member of their squad. But it's not over yet. There's still plenty of opportunity for FaZe. They can put a couple rounds together and force overtime. They came close to doing so on Bank. In this instance, well, DarkZero's got 2 minutes to do something they haven't done yet, which is make it out of the quarterfinals and to a second day outside of a group stage.
Yeah, DarkZero, big moments there. And as we saw in the I think it was the little pop-up there, FaZe Clan, I think it was Season 7 is the last time that they've ended a tournament in last place. They just don't do it very often. And I was talking about this at the beginning of the match, beginning of the series. FaZe have recently great performances. Season 9 finals, 3rd, 4th. Season 8 finals, 2nd. DreamHack Valencia, 2019, 3rd. They've been doing good. And that's just, again, that's recent stuff. Now, Nyx is pushing in here on the Visa stairs, and there's no one behind him. That's been obviously droned out by DZ. Meanwhile, DarkZero pressuring from the balcony. This is a very aggressive play from DarkZero in terms of how they're actually trying to challenge this site.
It's a tough shot for Nyx to make at the top of Visa stairs. He's got support from Hyper not too far off, just by the vending machines at the door of Copier. There's a Mozzie pest that's nearby, so that drone from Hyper is going to be locked down for the time being. Astra was playing a very tight angle. He'll set himself up some punch holes so he can play at an even greater distance. But he gets shredded by BC, looking for yet another down is the Mirror of Yuna, and BC on the windows is reigning supreme on the upside down rappel. He'll knock one of them out with a sledgehammer as Hot and Cold is inside, getting the plant down. Nyx is watching. DZ have been so good at rotating out of a post plant, and that's what they're going to do. They'll head for the hills and hope that with it comes a victory. A 3rd kill for BC as he finds Cameraman. 9XT is down below. He's isolated from the site. Mav is the only one there to possibly work against DarkZero. He doesn't see the diffuser. He doesn't see anybody. He's completely blind. He hears one. He engages. Can't do much. Takes some bullets to the side. It's Nyx there from coverage. And 9XT is outside. DarkZero will do the impossible, and they manage to thwart FaZe Clan despite adversity stacking up against them. DarkZero will be going to the semifinals for the first time in their team's history under this organization. We'll see them tomorrow.
Big win there from DarkZero and BC right at the end. Oh boy, was that impressive. The man's game sense is on another level. 3 kills from CEO Repel. And really, he was the linchpin in that round. It was why DarkZero managed to lock out that match.
It's not the result that FaZe is going to be looking for, but I honestly think it's the best they probably could have expected coming in here, knowing that they were not fighting fit. You still have somebody who hasn't played this game competitively for a year.
And he did great.
He did great. 9XT finishes off the series, top fragging in the very final game, and they were high impact kills.
Yeah.
Especially that one round where he was trapped inside of the bathroom. He fought his way out. He picked up 4 kills. I refer to him as the apex predator of that round. It's not going to be, I guess, what's the word for it? It's not the same kind of victory for DarkZero. It's bittersweet, I would say. It's a bittersweet victory for DarkZero because they would have wanted a FaZe Clan playing with Ion.
Yeah.
Let's not sugarcoat it. DarkZero gets around an opponent that were hobbled by losing one of their team members early on.
And
that's
now,
a problem. 9XT comes in, he does great, but still, I think DZ wants that matchup against a full FaZe team.
And now DZ have to temper their expectations based on their performance because it doesn't really give them much of a measuring tool for future matches. Because, I mean, you're right. It's FaZe. 9XT did great. I think, again, he added to his value with this match. He did a really great job. But ultimately, again, overall, the team synergy not identical to what FaZe have been practicing with for so very long and expecting to be able to use. But 9XT adds to his value. DarkZero, they get the win that they wanted and the one that I think they deserved, but again, they haven't gotten that match yet. And I'm sure that they're hungry for it. And
they're going to be playing the winner of Aerowolf versus Giants Gaming tomorrow. So we'll see that. You and I are going to be casting the Giants Gaming Aerowolf match later today. But before we even get into the analyst desk or our second matchup, we've got Matt on the stage with your Victor to give a short interview.
Thanks to Terra Kicks. Yes, hot and cold, a semi-finalist with DarkZero. That's something you guys have been striving for, but FaZe, a brilliant challenge from them, a really enjoyable way to kick off Pro League Season 10 finals. Had you prepared for the roam? Were you expecting that from FaZe? Because it looked like it was causing DarkZero some problems.
Yeah, we expected the roam. We knew like them not being there with their full 5, they were going to play a little more loose. So their roam game was really strong. And it was just about like me and Brandon droning our entries in, you know, Paul and Nix, and they got it done.
Got it done, that's true. So how did you prepare for FaZe? Because you say you were expecting a little bit, but of course with a substitute, that's a hard thing for any team to prepare for.
I mean, with one substitute, usually the team's still going to do, you know, somewhat the same stuff. So we just prep like how we normally do. And yeah, they stayed pretty similar to the VODs we watched.
Okay, so as expected, plans went to plan. Between you, on DarkZero, you've got a range of LAN experience. I've seen some of you at the big final stages and some of you at very little LANs at all. Is that something you've kind of shared experiences on? Is that something you've thought about coming here and playing in front of this massive crowd?
Yeah, I think most of us are pretty used to playing on LAN now. I think the stigma around our team is false, but I mean, we're just here to prove that wrong.
Tell us about that. What do you think?
I don't think that we're online players, but you know, the only way to prove that wrong is to do it. So
we're getting there. One step at a time, that's how it's done. Semi-finalists! Congratulations, hot and cold. DarkZero, we'll be seeing them tomorrow.